also met with the community, and they discussed with the community other communities on Long Island and elsewhere that they found to be architecturally pleasing, places like West Sayville, Greenport Village, and they tried to come up with these architectural styles consistent with the look that they wanted, the feel and the community that they wanted, similar to those other communities, but distinctive to Hampton Bays. So,
That's parking.
yeah, so it does talk about, like, some landscaping, some architectural features, but there are four styles. One called I believe Hampton Shake, which is got the cedar shakes on there, or a clapboard. The other one is the Hamptons Colonial, which is the Good Ground building, the one that says Good Ground on there. And then so there's various types which are outlined in the pattern book. And again, they're looking to adopt this as a component of the comprehensive plan.
So what's the next step, Teresa? If once this is adopted and somebody wants to come in and repurpose a property or build from scratch, they refer to the pattern book? And are they
Yes.
required to conform to it?
So when you're reviewing the site plan application, and as part of our purview, we would give you, we would come to you and say, okay, well, here's a redevelopment project plan. They have an architectural style that they're proposing for the new building or for the facade changes, and they are consistent with style A in the pattern book, or they're not consistent with any of the styles in the pattern book. And then we will work with them and the ARB to make it more consistent with those styles.
I mean, I did not read 110 pages, but I did look at a lot of pictures.
Yes.
And my sense is that the pattern book is more than just architectural style. It's also the length of streets, where parking lots are. And I know that we as a planning board look to put in street trees, which is in this document.
Mhm.
We look to put in some green within a parking lot.
Right.
Am I correct in saying that if someone comes in and they want to redo the building,
Right.
but the parking lot is smack dab out on the street?
Mm-hmm.
The pattern book doesn't allow us to say you have to change that, because that would actually require a rebuild.
Correct. Right. So, but if they just wanted to change the facade, there, and they have to come in for those minor changes, they can. The pattern book would give us guidance on how to do that. And yes, there are some recommendations with respect to parking lots and things of that nature, which will be further developed in future code amendments as we're working towards those. But for the purposes of today, the pattern book is a guidance document to say this is what we prefer, this is what the community prefers, and it has to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, and this will be a component of the comprehensive plan. And then any code amendments will be made at a later date.
Wait, so
So
this is what the community prefers?
Yes, the architect, the consultants sent out, I believe, 2, maybe even 3 community surveys that were available online. And I believe they might have had 1 or 2 meetings. I'm not 100% sure about that. But this was designed with community input in mind.
You know what the participation was like?
I don't know that information. I'm sorry.
And
That
what,
would be good if we could get that. It's probably available. I mean, I took the
I
survey.
believe there was a work session, town board work session, and I think it might have been discussed. I can get that information from Frank's phone.
and my understanding is this was done with from several years ago prior to the lawsuit.
Correct.
So the description of the community input is from now or from several years ago?
Both.
Okay.
So this was part of the downtown overlay that was done initially, and then it got thrown out as part of the lawsuit. But again, the town board and the community felt that a pattern book of some sort as a guidance document was a necessary element for guiding the town and future applicants. So they reworked it and revised it, and it was released in May of this year at the town board work session, and the town board is considering including it as part of the comprehensive plan.
Part of the comp plan or the Hamlet study?
comp plan.
Comp plan, so it's codified.
It's not technically codified, but it is a guiding principle of the town. And, you know, in order to get site plan approval, you need to demonstrate compliance with the comp plan.
It has more weight behind it once it's in the comp.
It has
It
more weight
does?
behind it once it's in the comp plan, and then there are official regulations as code amendments come in. But it's a guiding document. You know, they don't have to necessarily comply with every single element unless it's put in the code, but it does provide some guidance.
Good.
There was a work session, I saw part of it on TV, the town
Right.
board work session. Did you say there is going to be a public hearing?
That is correct. I believe their public hearing is June 23rd. I have to double check that,
Mhm.
which is why it's before you today to get your input on the document.
So you want a referral from us now?
Yes, that's correct. And I did
Okay.
draft a resolution for your review, considering, you know, just recommending approval or adoption as part of the comp plan. But if we want to add any further recommendations, I'm happy to do so.
It covers the key points. Why don't you just read it into the record, Teresa? Do you
Okay,
have it?
good. Huh?
Do you have it? Just
Oh,
read
no,
it.
I gave you all my copies, sorry. Okay. So, the resolution as drafted states, whereas the planning board is in receipt of the draft Hampton Bays pattern book prepared by Historical Concepts dated May 10th, 2024, and whereas the planning board has reviewed the pattern book at their June 13th, 2024 meeting, and whereas the planning board supports the adoption of the pattern book as a component of the comprehensive plan, as it provides clear guidance on preferred building typology and encourages redevelopment in a manner that supports and enhances the essential characteristics of Hampton Bays. And now therefore be it resolved that the planning board supports the adoption of the Hampton Bays pattern book prepared by Historical Concepts dated May 10th, 2024.
Any comments on it?
Well, like Gloria and I
Mhm.
took a look at it. I didn't go page by page and study it.
Nor did I.
But
But I mean, I think I got enough of a gist that what's being recommended is nothing like what's currently in existence, with the exception of a couple of sample buildings, but not that most of the current build out doesn't in any way match what the pattern book is saying.
Right, there are several buildings in the district that are consistent with what the, what the pattern book says, but those buildings were identified as, by the community as the essential characteristics that they want to enhance and expand upon in the community, right? So they didn't want the square building that had no architectural uniqueness. They wanted buildings that represented the Hampton Bays community, and they felt these 4 building styles were the best representation of what the community wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I guess where I'm going, and not specifically to Hampton Bays, which of course it only applies to Hampton Bays, but we've been seeing applications for new buildings, and we've been encouraging parking behind the building, not in front. That seems to me something that we should be thinking about codifying so that it gives the planning board much more power to require, as there are new builds, that what's being built, whether it's at Hampton Bays or on the highway, looks more like a walkable community. I think that's sort of the gist.
I will bring that up to Janice as a possible code requirement or a code amendment. I have a list going, so
Yeah,
good.
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
Great.
But yes, I don't disagree with you, particularly since we're trying to
Streetscape is important.
Yeah.
streetscape, right, enhance those streetscapes. I know that part of the Bridgehampton Historical District talks
Yes.
about that. I know the Riverside Overlay District also talks about walkable communities and putting parking behind. So we're making slow progress there. You know, three of the communities have those. Once this is adopted, 3 of those communities will have those guidance documents or code requirements. So we're making progress there, but I will add it to the list of things that should be codified.
Yeah, I mean, I
That
was
could be
happy
codified.
to see things like rain gardens, street trees, green within a parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
permeable pavers. I mean, things that we're recommending in right now.
Right.
But that it reinforced in that document, so that made me happy.
Great.
I mean, I love the concept. I'm just hung up a little bit without knowing the sample size, if this is truly representative of what the community wants. You know, that's sort of important, right? Especially Hampton Bays, they've been down here a lot and saying, wait a minute, we didn't want this, you know,
Right.
as we grew.
Well, I can get that
So-
information and email it to you from, I can get that information from Frank Sapone and email it to you, but I do believe it was, over 200 responses in the last,
Oh, that's pretty significant.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but I
given
could be
that
wrong.
this is a guidance document, we'd still be going through the public hearing process and hearing from the community on each project. So I feel that right now, we have no guidance document to gut check a design
Yeah.
into shaping a community, and this would give us that
Totally,
tool
totally fair
without
point, yeah.
code.
Good point.
and it is again subject to, the pattern book itself is subject to public hearing at the next town board meeting. So it's not like the community doesn't have an opportunity to weigh in another time. You know, they've done at least
Right.
2 community surveys, and then they're gonna still have another opportunity starting out the town board meeting, I believe it's June 23rd.
Okay,
25th. I
Yeah.
always get those days wrong.
so
I'd
can
be
I have
proud
a
to
motion?
motion.
Motion to adopt the referral is written, second by Glorian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you very much, Teresa. Prema, you want to go into 254 Tuckahoe Lane? Or do you want to move, where's Rivian moving to? Rivian, Rivian is moving down to
Do we
an
have to,
action, right?
I'm sorry.
Completion?
It's probably a development action.
It's a
site
development
plan
action, yeah.
Or
do we want to,
discussion.
do we have to close the work session?
I never opened it.
Okay.
No, we moved Rivian. I apologize. Rivian's number 19.
Okay, so it's off here.
It's off.
It's
No,
not
it
all-
moves to
moved.
19. It's a development action.
Jackie, do you want an updated copy of the agenda?
Is that what I'm looking at?
No, because Rivian again is number 19 on the most recent.
Oh, okay, just give me that, that'd be great, thanks. Is there one, Teresa? Is there an agenda? Did it,
It's like 19.
I had
Rivian
several
was
printed
19,
out.
I could give you mine, it's fine.
Yeah, Rivian is on, is number 19
Yeah, I
on the
have
one
it,
on
I
my
have it,
desk.
You have it?
I have it,
Yeah.
thank you.
You bring your own copies.
I'll bring my own copy, because I don't like them.
Both sides.
Okay. Go ahead, Brennan, it's all yours.
This is 254 Tuckahoe Lane, lot line modification. We had it on,
You might want to pull that mic closer to you and just, if you could increase your volume. Your,
all right.
thanks.
The board is considering conditional approval. It was on for distribution at the last meeting. And I think the applicant is here by Zoom. I mentioned to have either
What is the
Rachel or
name?
Ashley. I'm sorry?
What's the name of the applicant? So give it-
Rachel Davy or someone from Davy Law.
Is there someone,
Okay, great.
yes? Okay, they're bringing them in.
The application considers action on 2 parcels in the R15 zoning district. It's 254 Tuckahoe Lane and 246 Tuckahoe Lane. These 2 lots that are right up here, or lots 1 and 2. The lot line modification is, they're proposing the transferring of 4,200 square feet from lot 1 to lot 2. The applicant proceeded to file deeds for the transfer in 2004, and the proposed activities to legalize the transfer with the board and the county. It's a type 2 action pursuant to CETRA. The planning board held a public hearing on April 25th and closed with a 10-day written comment period, and no comments were received. Referrals were made, and there was, the highway department stated having no issues. The fire marshal had a standard response, and they also recommend the installation of water mains and fire hydrants. The nearest hydrant is in excess of 850 feet.
Karina, I'm sorry, but you're talking so low and
I
quietly.
am.
Yes,
Maybe
you're-
not.
It's
I don't
not
think
just,
this amplifies.
Oh, that won't
no, it's
amplify,
just,
just
you're
do it.
not,
Yeah.
you're talking, you're reading to yourself.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I,
Don't be shy. I'll try not to. The Conservation Board noted freshwater wetlands across Tuckahoe Lane. The permits, town permits are not required for future land disturbance and construction activities, because it's on the opposite side of the road. They also noted some large mature trees on the properties. The DEC also noted that they're within the jurisdiction of the Freshwater Wetlands Act, and the subdivisions not required is not a regulated activity, but any disturbance within 100 feet of the boundary would require a permit from the DEC.
I think I read something that if the driveway is being moved and the DEC has a problem with that without approval
Well,
from them, did I?
Maybe Rachel can talk more about it. They're not proposing any work right now. I think the driveway was, the driveway work was in the past, or maybe when they tried to previously record it in 2004, but they're not proposing any site work now, if I'm not mistaken.
Can you just identify yourself for the record, please?
Of course. Good afternoon. Rachel Davey of Davey Law PC, 220 Main Street, Center Marches, New York, 11934. Attorney for the applicant located at 254 Tuckahoe Lane.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Additionally, to the DEC,
Karina, I'm sorry, but the write-up in the DEC report says including the proposed relocation of the driveway.
I think they are thinking that there might be work there. I'm not quite sure why. They don't have a permit. They stated as not having anything active on the permit, but I don't know. I have the original referral letter. They can
Yeah,
take it.
I mean, that just says to me like that's part of the application.
Is that in the first paragraph?
Yes, it is.
I don't believe we've made an application to increase the driveway. The application was strictly for the lot line modification.
Yeah, at the end of that paragraph, it does say.
It says
our
any
records
disturbance,
indicate
including.
no application has been received. Or,
For the proposed work.
right.
Yeah, I think it's all, because it says would be required. They also note the sites are within 3 miles of the northern long-eared bat. Cutting of trees inside the window would require an endangered and threatened species take permit inside the December 1 to February 28 window. And if they're proposing cutting trees outside of the window, they will need to apply for a permit with the DEC. No responses were received from the town engineer, the fire district, or the Southampton CAC.
I would suggest that where under findings, point 3, that talks about the long-eared bat, we just add a sentence that if there is any other changes to like the driveway, it needs to get DEC approval.
Well, don't put it under 3, make it a separate
Well, but-
item, because
but
that's
it's what
long-eared bat.
It's
Oh,
it's
that's
all
DEC.
DEC stuff, that's why I was saying that.
Yeah.
I don't care where, but it just seems like they made the statement, we should at least include it in our findings, that we didn't just
So
ignore it.
any site work, not just tree removal.
So what's the situation with, if the wetlands are not regulated in this application, do they still have to be updated in the flagging or not? Do we know?
So this is, that's right. There's no problem with my voice, folks. They can hear me across the hall. With the DEC, this is for a lot line modification. DEC is going to take its opportunity
To do
to
everything.
comment on
Yes.
anything and everything. So the land transfer is what it is, doesn't require a DEC permit. If there are regulated wetlands within the jurisdiction of this property, they will be required to go to the DEC to get the appropriate permits. Not addressing like
A
a
lot-
driveway location here now
Mhm.
won't stop them from having the requirement to do anything the DEC requires.
In the
In
future.
the future.
This is just,
Just the lot line
they're
change.
just
Right.
being
That's probably a standard.
extra
100%.
Okay,
And same
thank
thing
you.
with Marty's office, they'd have to go back.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, being extra is a good way of putting it.
Go ahead, Prana.
Health Department approval is required before the signing of the maps. The monuments located at each corner and every changing direction of the boundary. The subdivision map requires the note from the DEC regarding the tree clearing. The both properties are located within the archaeological sensitive area, but there's, the planning board doesn't require phase 1 and phase B assessment since there's no activity proposed at this time, and both lots have been developed with single-family homes and accessory structures. The planning board held a hearing on April 25th, and there was no comment before, during or after the closing of the comment period. The transfer is providing Lot 2 with additional width for their previously widened driveway. Currently, there are 2 parcels of land, and 2 will continue to exist following the transfer, and thereby creating no new lots and no new nonconformities. And the proposed transfer meets the criteria for review and approval as a transfer of land pursuant to the town code. The planning board waives the requirement for further subdivision review and authorizes the transfer subject to the following conditions: the health department approval, again, the monuments located at the corners and change in direction, the notes on the subdivision map for the DEC for any clearing, the submission of 3 file deeds with the meets and bounds description for verification by the planning department and town attorney prior to the signature of the transfer maps. And then if any other deeds are required, the drafts must be approved by the town attorney. Covenant requiring no further subdivision unless approved by the planning board, and 3-inch drainage for all future impervious surfaces. Title certification, mortgage consent if applicable, C of Os for both properties, town attorney approval for all legal documents, and the submission of 10 copies of the transfer map for signature, and submission of all the deeds file with the county clerk, and finally, the submission of the required items within 180 days, or the approval will expire.
Any other questions? Do you have anything to add? Do you have any questions?
No questions. I think it's pretty straightforward. You know, unfortunately, the parties thought that they had completed the process in 2004. They had previously requested relief from the planning board and got a conditional approval similar to the one that we're seeing here today. It's just some of the conditions were never followed through, and so we are making the application to get this firmed up and legalized and do the right thing with the town. We already have the Suffolk County Health Department application in. We'll be obtaining our certificate of existing use from the building department, and then we can get everything submitted for the town to review and approve as requested and delineated in the proposed resolution.
Okay. Anything more? Any other further questions? So, motion to adopt the report.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria and second by Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Prana, I'm going to ask you to come and sit here,
Okay.
You know, Rocky's chair.
Sorry.
This one.
and maybe someone can operate that for you.
I have it pulled up already.
Okay.
This one should be pretty straightforward because we reviewed the report, the draft report at the last
We're
meeting.
looking at Charlotte Lee Smith, number 3.
142 South Road in West Hampton. It's the, a 2-lot subdivision. And you're considering the final draft of the pre-application report. I don't know if there's enough there, I have one, we run out. So we went over it pretty thoroughly at the last meeting. If you want, I could go over it again, or I could just call out the changes. There weren't a lot of changes, but the most notable is the addition of the comments to the ZBA at the front of the report. So I could read that if you like. The planning board does not support creating undersized lots and recommends the transfer of the development rights come from the West Hampton Beach School District. The application proposes the subdivision of a conforming parcel of 2 undersized lots, adding further density or downsizing the hamlet of West Hampton. And the subdivision shall only proceed with the transfer of development rights from within the school district and the same groundwater management zone 6. 1 credit's required. And if no credit is purchased for town purposes, then the planning board strongly opposes the subdivision and added density due to the impacts with regard to negative pressures on the school district, traffic, and the groundwater. So that was really coming from the
Mhm.
feedback from the board, and
Right.
Dennis mentioned we've been coming across this a couple of times now.
Now, is this going to be also a referral to the ZBA?
I didn't have that note in here. Claire made a good note last time that if we put that in there, you know, that they can ask for more relief, I suppose, when they go to zoning. So
But this is just our report, but
this
if
is our
the
report.
ZBA
We'll
asks for
flag it when it
referral,
comes in.
Then you'll use this as your.
use
basis.
this as the basis for the
Yeah.
referral. Okay, good.
I would say the first sentence, I think you could just put a period at the end. The planning board does not support creating undersized lots, period. Eliminate the rest of that sentence, and then you address the density and transfer development rights issues later in the other paragraphs.
Okay. I can do
That's
that
the
if
only change
everybody
I would
agrees.
recommend.
Does not support the undersized lots.
Don't give a way out on the first sentence.
Right, because you address, okay, if you're gonna do it,
Do it
please
like this,
do
yeah.
it like this.
And here's why we're
Yes.
concerned.
Great job.
Um,
I like how we reformatted the report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We did
important.
that on the other one too, so I
Yeah,
think that's a good
makes
idea. On page 3, there was really not a revision, but I just moved the language requiring the determination from the chief building inspector about the language of the existing cottage, which is on the C of O, versus the accessory apartment, which is the variance from, I forget what year it was, maybe '09. They had a bunch of relief, and it was all to turn that cottage into an accessory apartment, so they need to differentiate between the two, or he needs to determine which it is. And then the last edit was number 6 on page 5, under the recommendations that talked about the groundwater management zone and the requirements for the county, and the only thing I did there was pull the language regarding the West Hampton Beach School District,
Okay.
so that way it was all county related, and we put that at the front. And everything else stayed the same.
Mm-hmm. Good review. Okay, any questions on this?
I don't know.
We went over it.
Jim is here. I don't know if you have anything.
Jim, do you have any comment?
Just a brief comment about the first paragraph. I'm fine with the rest of the document.
Just identify yourself,
I'm
please.
sorry, James N. Hume, Kelly Hume, PC, 323 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach, for the applicant. So you've taken a position of being opposed to undersized lots, and the compensating factor that you're suggesting here is Pine Barren credits. The Pine Barren credits are really a compensation for septic, for nitrogen. And that's what that's all about. And if you go through, which I will have to do for perhaps the zoning board, but definitely the health department, if you go through this process and you determine how much nitrogen is being produced by the 2 septic systems that exist now, and you compare that to the nitrogen load that's going to be produced by the 2 IA systems that we would have to install, you're going to discover that we're producing less nitrogen. And so what this subdivision will in fact do from that perspective is reduce the septic impact on the community as opposed to increasing it. So,
Right. Well, that's a bullet point sort of far down the page.
Sure.
The big bullet point
Yes.
is that
Oh, yeah.
this is the development, this is a creation of undersized lots, and that's what we're saying.
True. Yeah.
That's a planning function.
And,
Understood.
and it's not just the septic flow, it's the water and the traffic in the school. So, there's a
Right,
bunch
but-
of reasons we're making that determination.
I understand that, but you go on to say the way to compensate for this undersized lot is a Pine Barren credit. And the Pine Barren credit doesn't impact school districts or traffic. It impacts groundwater impact. And what I'm saying to you is that the net groundwater impact here is positive, not negative.
So then there would be no relief, right, with the Pine Barrens credit. Is that correct?
Well, we're gonna need credits for the health department, certainly.
Yeah,
just says
well, then
Yeah.
let's put that in. We need-
Yeah.
They need credits from the health
Yeah, I
department.
think that's
So
in there.
transfer
Well,
of
this-
development rights within the West Hampton Beach School District and the same
same
groundwater
groundwater.
management.
But
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully understand that condition, I just wanted to be
But
clear
You're
about
on,
what
you're
you're
on the
saying
rec,
and
you're
what
on the
you're saying.
record, Jim.
Thank
But
you, I
are we
appreciate
ju-
it. And in
I-
all other respects, I'm fine with the
But
document.
I have a
Thank you.
question. Are we just saying Pine Barrens credits? I thought we were saying development credit,
TDR.
period. So it could be an old file map credit. Am I mean, Pine Barrens, maybe I'm just
Well, the-
showing my ignorance here.
What was the question?
Are we only, are there only Pine Barrens credits that we're recommending, or are there other development? Because it says development, it doesn't say Pine Barrens in the paragraph.
The Pine Barren is, I have that listed with the county at the end, under the recommendations. On this first paragraph, it's development rights.
And so could
Was
you
it Pine
do,
Barrens credit or development right?
Well, I think we want it for both.
And you're gonna have to say
That's how you discussed having the same credit to service both.
I think it's a development credit. Yeah, it's a development credit.
So the flow requirement, and Dennis brought this up at the last meeting, that there is an active TDR program within the town, and to leverage that is important if an undersized lot's gonna be created, because we aren't just talking about groundwater flow credits, we're talking about increased density in a community that has so many other impacts. So it's not either or, it's and, right? Both.
It's a,
yeah,
Understood.
thank you, that's what I've been trying to say, but I didn't understand. I
Right,
wasn't
yeah.
at the meeting and I
was trying
did
to
watch
remember
it, but
Dennis's
Thank you.
perspective there.
thank you.
Thanks.
So you got that change, addition, Brenna?
I do.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? A motion to approve as amended?
Motion.
Motion by Tom, second by,
second,
who said second?
Great.
Craig.
no, he said it first.
Second
First,
by
second, third.
Craig, all in
Your seat,
favor?
little
Who's on
boy.
third?
5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
I've been seeing you for
Claire,
6
your
months. I have
vintage
to think about
vines,
it.
number 4.
Feels right.
Just come up here every time.
Every time.
We can, we can
And
hear
make-
you.
What a
I
difference.
feel, it sounds like to myself, I'm speaking pretty loudly. I come from a family of 9, and I've learned to shout over the last 45 years.
So this was a request initially to do a change, release of the performance bond to convert to maintenance bond. However, the recommendation from the town engineer has changed. So the resolution, he is recommending that the performance bonds be released and a maintenance bond be waived in this case because the road's been in such good condition for over a year. And I've gone out there and the vegetation is also in a good condition. So that's the findings in the resolution. So the next step would be to recommend to release the performance bond, waive the maintenance bond, and subject to all the requirements on the list for accepting the road into the highway system. So that's the resolution before you. The original the bond amount right now is $415,910.
And it's held in a,
It's
Bank
in a bank account.
Yeah.
Yes.
any questions? Motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, and second by
I'll second.
Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent.
And Baroda number 5 is off the agenda.
Off the agenda. Okay, thank you. Anthony, you have 21 Columbia Avenue, West Hampton.
Thank you.
Sorry, just wanted to make sure it wasn't 2 stacks.
So just to remind the board, we're going to go through what we have today. We're going to focus more on this access issue because that the attorney's here. And then we'll probably bring it back next time to adopt with any changes. Just to remind the board, this is subdivision, we have, I believe it's Vanderbilt Park, that's the name of the old file map. It involves two properties. This is R40 zoned. It's not in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, but it is in the New York State Archaeological Sensitive Area. The landlocked parcel in the back, about the total between the two properties is 8.24. So they have a landlocked parcel in the back, and then this vacant, smaller property in the front. The landlocked parcel is not within the old file map, and the lot along Columbia Avenue, which would provide access to this lot, is within the old file map. It was raised during the public hearing by Joe Gaza that because the landlocked parcel is not within the old file map, it cannot have access from the road within the old file map. This was brought up back in 2003 in a pre-app report that was done for this property. That issue was raised.
So there's no access.
There's
That's
an attorney
the,
on this who has sent letters and has a file that I'm going to be reviewing because he believes that there should be, and the law allows for it, so that's a discussion we're going to have.
Okay. But the code reads that
Yeah.
you cannot have access to a described parcel from an old file map parcel.
planning board. It's they're showing the road coming in. This is a yield map. It's showing 6 lots. Just real quick, this is a pre-application. We would have to get on a preliminary application. This would be a major subdivision. The yield map would have to actually show the road. We can't have 6 flags or 5 flag lots. So
Anthony, what is Fairview Street now? Is that
that's another paper road within the
paper?
within the subdivision, the old file.
You can't use that either because that's old
It
file
was
map.
raised in the report, and we put it in there.
Is Columbia a town road?
What's that?
Is Columbia a town road?
It's a private road. No, there wouldn't be any questions then if it was.
Yeah.
Assuming a yield of 6, they show then another plan with a 10% increase because of the affordable housing requirement. So that's why I call this a 6 to 7 lot subdivision.
But they're still showing flag lots.
But they're still showing flag lots. So until we get to the preliminary stage with the proper maps, I'm just saying 6 to 7 until we know for sure. They would also have to show a park, a little park area on the yield map. I don't think that would affect the yield. And then they show a plan with just 6 lots actually, and some open space. They provided a cluster plan.
Which is the open space.
So they show it clustered down here.
Okay.
There is no adjacent open space or anything like this, so we're not going to get a contiguous block of open space in the event this goes through. But they did provide the plan as required. If the board goes to page 3 of this draft report, we got comments from the engineer. Pretty standard comments, sort of preliminary at this point. They don't have, and we don't have any road and drainage plans from the comment on it, a pre-app. So we just note his comments here that they would have to address. The Conservation Board, page 4, provided some comments. They talk about supporting the cluster plan, and actually they do favor the open space in the location as proposed. They think it would be the best strategy for getting a chunk of open space in this property. The other side of it is, and we could get into it at another point when we finalize this thing, the board also has the option of not doing open space and establishing buffers if they want. They could establish clearing limitations. So I just want to make sure you understand all your options to protect the trees here. And it's not within 200 feet of wetlands. The Office of Fire Prevention provided comments on the bottom of page 4, top of page 7, and they're going to be looking for fire hydrants as part of the subdivision.
I'm assuming there's public water?
There is public water that comes up to about this point. Actually, I could look at that here. Comes up to about this point here, so they'd have to continue. Bring it up a little bit.
And in.
Yeah, of course.
So it's an access issue all around.
Yes. Yeah. But assuming they were able to proceed, I believe the health department is going to require that they just extend the water main to.
Right.
And the Trails Advisory said there weren't any trail implications. you know, this is a rectangular property. You know, absent the access issue, it's not difficult to lay out lots here. It's pretty easy. So you'll see, basically on the recommendations, the first comment is talking about this access, and that's really what the gist of this issue is. And actually, I'd just rather give the opportunity now for the applicant to talk about that, because that's really, you know, that's really what they want to get into. Some map changes and clearing restrictions are easy enough, but let's get to the access issue.
Yeah, because without the access, there's no point in the conversation.
Is the applicant on Zoom or?
No, the
He's here.
applicant is here.
Mr. Bartel?
Just a quick comment, Anthony. So page 2, there were some public comments, and there just have to be added in.
That's why I
some-
graded out.
Oh,
I'm still
sorry.
in my
Okay.
draft mode
I just
here,
want to
so
make sure.
You are 100% accurate.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Richard Bartel, Box 5, Remsenburg, New York, for the applicant. Thank you for hearing us today. I'm here to speak, I mean, you can ask me all the questions you like, but I'm here to speak solely on the issue of access to the premises. And if I can approach, I'd like to ask, does the entire board understand that what we have is a substandard lot attached to a standard lot in the R40 zoning?
Yeah, we went
Yeah,
through this
we
with.
under- yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, this is my first time here.
Yeah.
I've just been
Do you
retained.
have an old file map?
Yeah.
Right.
Old file parcel
So
as your
what-
access point.
What we have is what we have is a merger between the small 14,000 square foot lot, lot number 34, and the 8-acre lot, which is lot number 2. As they have merged, and my applicant, my clients own both lots, there should be absolutely no reason that we can't gain access through the small lot. The small lot and the big lot are together. They're one lot. That's what they are.
Well, I think there's an issue here that our town attorney will have to look at, which is, can you do that with an old file map? Can you merge an old file map with a described parcel?
And that's the question that we've sat down. and
I've
discussed it.
spoken with the town attorney at
Okay,
length,
great.
and I've provided her with volumes of foil materials from the town, from the ZBA, from the planning board.
One volume.
I'm sorry, one volume, one thick volume.
Did you get one?
No.
And so these lots, there can be no doubt that these lots have merged, and if there's any doubt, you can look to the town code there. Even when someone inherits lots that are adjoining, we're talking about a substandard lot next to another substandard lot, or a substandard lot next to a standard lot, they're merged. So these two lots, they are merged now, and that is what gives us legal access to the 8 acres so that we can subdivide it. Now, further, I've already given over to the town attorney. I've foiled this board, the ZBA, the town board, and the building department. And in not one case, there are 14 developed lots on Columbia. In not one case did any board from this town hold up any building permit for any one of these houses. The question absolutely never came up. So if you follow the precedent of this town, for those 14 houses that are already on Columbia, there's no reason that we should be denied access. We're just asking for the same consideration that those 14 houses have.
But I think that's the same issue. That's an old file map, is it not, where those
So-
houses exist?
Well,
So it's the same issue.
Madam, I don't believe it is the same issue. I believe what we have is old file maps, number 321 through 326 on Columbia, which are now a part of the larger subdivision. They're no longer old file maps. They are part of what we're trying to do. They're merged. So even if there was a restriction, they are part of our bigger project.
So, you know, obviously there were some legal questions here. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. If someone has rights to access their property for a subdivision, they have rights. I'm not looking to stop that. So, because it is an interesting question. Some other things, that popped up. Like, so if you look at the recommendations, number 1 says it just raises the issue. It doesn't take a position. The planning board is not taking a position here. Someone has rights to use access, and they have rights. If you, something that in my research with the previous pre-app report that was raised, and this comes out of it, if you look, and it was noted, the vast majority of Vanderbilt Park is not in the old file overlay district because it's in the R20 zoning district. So you can see here, these properties, which are part of Vanderbilt Park, but are not put in the overlay district because of the zoning. And I'm not saying that has any implications, but there are lots then on this road also that have not put in the overlay district that do have access. I don't know what it means legally, and maybe it helps the applicant, but these are things that have popped up that we've got to sort of look into. Because then it raises the question, if we're involving this property, then do we have to do an abandonment of the underlying old file map, which is referenced in this report? That's a very technical house cleaning type of thing that happens at the time of the filing. But I do note it in here that this property is in the old file map. So if this property then provides access, they have the rights. You have to abandon the underlying map here.
So that whole strip is old file map.
Yeah. The question was, one of these is Fairfield or Fairview Street. It was raised in the previous report, so in number 3, I raised it in here. Do you have access of any of these other streets that can provide access to here? Not that it makes a big difference, but that question was raised. Talks about ownership of the roads, distances that are needed. Again, 5 talks about the ability to have access from another street. 6 talks about public water being extended to the site. It's not far away. 7 talks about requirements for fire hydrants in the event this is developed. Again, it's not an aquifer protection, but in this particular case, would the planning board want to impose clearing restrictions, given the site is completely wooded? In the alternative, you could do an open space. You could do a combination of both. Those options are available. Number 9 talks about building envelopes that would need to be provided at the time of preliminary. 10 talks about the radii for the cul-de-sac. So obviously, when they're doing a road design for either yield purposes or for a road that's going to be dedicated to the town on a preferred map, this cul-de-sac has design standards that they have to conform with. Unstable slope should be stabilized. And plans to regrade the site should be submitted. This will be part of a more detailed engineering review when we get to that stage where we start getting into the level of improvements for roads, driveways.
Is the property fairly level?
What's that?
Is the property fairly level?
The property is fairly level, if you look here. It's hard to see on here, and one of the things that we mentioned is we don't have the topo, so it's hard to assess, but it was mentioned previously if there are any unstable slopes in here in the previous review.
Anthony, could you, for my benefit, the large property is a defined property. Are all of that red or red shaded? That's old file map.
These are the old file map properties along Columbia Avenue.
Right. Okay. And Columbia Avenue is that blue line, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, contour information should be provided. Number 14 talks about the disposal of stumps and logs that were mentioned previously during the public hearing, and it was noted in the previous report. So we identified this issue, and they should submit information that no toxic materials are present in the fill. And any miscellaneous debris and garbage should be removed throughout the site.
14 does reference topography. They have slopes, depressions.
Yeah, these were noted. This was based on observations and what information we do have on record, but not based on actual topography on a survey.
The applicant's attorney just stated that the old file map parcel is now part of the defined parcel because it's owned by the same person.
That's what he said.
That's our position, madam.
So,
Okay,
so
and
here's
That's
what I
a
would
legal
say.
issue that
And that-
Christine is examining.
Okay.
Two non-conforming, properties, non-conforming lots or non-conforming lot, same ownership and adjacent to each other do merge. That's under town, maybe New York State town law, merger law. The underlying question he's asking or he's presenting is, does that hold true for a property that's inside of an old filed map
Okay,
when it's adjacent to one that's, inside the old filed map? I don't know the answer to that question, to be
Okay.
honest. That's something we'll have to look at. However, putting that aside, if we weren't looking at an old file map, this would absolutely be considered merged.
okay.
So, notwithstanding the fact that they still get two separate tax bills and it's shown as two separate tax map numbers, it doesn't mean that they're not merged, just because they're shown separately. They de facto merge as a result of the non-conforming status and the ownership, single ownership.
Like that. The underlined portion here, that's your emphasis? This underlined portion of what you handed out?
Yeah, yes, it is my emphasis. It's the town code, and I don't mean to insult the board, but that is the law in this town. I'd like to bring up just another issue. There was some talk of gaining access through Fairview, which is a perpendicular
The paper road.
paper
that
road.
we
Well,
just mentioned, yeah.
pursuant to Planning Board Resolution 2017-447, adopted December 21, 2017, and Planning Board Resolution 46499, Fairview has been abandoned by, Blair Gaza, we probably remember that name, and Theodore Matz, who were both adjoining property owners of Fairview. So we're not going to come through Fairview. We'd love to come through Fairview, but we can't come through Fairview.
Got it. And did we say Columbia was
It's a private road.
it's private, it's not
Private.
not in the town road?
Is there another paper street?
Of which there are
That
14
one's out.
houses.
And there may have been abandonments done on these. I just, we raise it, I see them on the map, I don't, our records don't necessarily get updated as quickly as the abandonments, but I just raise the issue. If they've been abandoned, then they have no access.
Anthony, was this the file we were talking about an easement?
It's
Or am
a
I,
different
like,
one. That's
confused?
That's
a
different.
Gaza application, different.
This is
It's on
not
the
an
same-
easement, this is not an easement
same
situation.
street.
There are 14 houses who have access, who were never asked by any board from this town whether they had access or not on Columbia. My lot, which is attached to my bigger lot, is right on Columbia, so.
And
Oh,
where
it
are
is.
those 14 houses, Mr. Bartel?
I've given all that information over to the town attorney, but if you look,
Is it the old file strip or to the east of that?
they're on both sides of Columbia, going north and south. And if you see houses. Now, all of Columbia is not developed. There are 14 houses, which I think is a sufficient number to show that, we have a right of access.
Okay, well, I'm sure the papers will be reviewed and council will be in conversation with you about it. So until then,
What we'll do is I'm gonna bring it back to the board. I'm
Yeah.
gonna look at Christine,
see
see,
what
if,
Christine says.
on the one hand, one of two things will happen. Either the report's just going to say, here's the issue as it does, planning board doesn't take a position. Just said this is the issue and if it's resolved, or if we come up with something different, it will be put in the report and we could, you'll know ahead of time. I'll make sure you know what we come up with. I don't have a definitive answer right now to sit there and say,
I don't see how there could be any other answer.
Okay.
But it's noted, and you have the information, and we'll address it in the report, and then we'll bring it back for the next time. The rest of the stuff in here is pretty straightforward.
It's all after the fact. It's all after the fact of access is what it is.
Yeah,
But, you got the
everything else
benefit of the
is-
review, just,
Are we adopting the report today?
No, we're
It says
gonna bring
action
it's draft.
deadline.
It's draft.
it does say action deadline. Can we bring it back on the 27th?
That'll be fine.
Appreciate it.
So you'll he'll give you a letter to extend?
We got it on the record here, but yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
So no action on that. Seth, you're up. Noel Crest Woods, Lot 6.
Since I'm doing the next two, I'll pass you, pass this around, two resolutions on it. So we have 31 Carlisle. And
both.
It's a covenant amendment. This lot in Sag Harbor is R20 and located in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. Let me just pull it up here. The applicant has asked for a covenant amendment to bring the property from a 35% clearing restriction to the restriction under APOD, which would be a 60% clearing restriction. Several of the lots in the Knollcrest Woods subdivision have sought this same covenant amendment and has been granted.
Can we just see it on the
Yeah, sorry.
screen? Thank you.
So they're asking for the 60% clearing of APOD for the R20, a 15,000 square foot lot approximately. I asked the applicant to supply me with an as-built survey, which they did. It showed 61.8% clearing. So if I recommend to the board that if you do approve the covenant amendment, that the applicant will also have to file a over-clearing application with the planning division. But
And re-veg on that one, whatever
Yes.
percentage that is, yeah,
precisely.
sounds good.
I presented you with the pretty standard resolution. I'm not sure if the applicant has, yeah. Would you care to speak?
Hi everyone, I'm Sabrina Kelly from InterScience, 36 Nugent Street. I'm here with Jim Merrill, who owns 31 Carlisle.
Yes?
Steph and I have talked about it, and we're fine with coming back in with an over-clearing application. It's about 280 square feet of clearing would be native vegetation. Jim's going to work with Summerhill, and we should have that in shortly.
Good. Sounds good. Any questions on it? No? That's pretty straightforward. You did all the work, Seth. Thank you.
Okay, very
Okay,
good.
thanks.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. So, motion to adopt Knollcrest Woods by Glorian, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you, Seth. Now, number 8,
Okay.
Charles Vanderveer Estates.
Yes, Vanderveer Estates. Brian Locascio is here. Yes, so let me pull it up first. So the lot we're looking at is 81 Daylily, down to the bottom right on this aerial. That's Daylily. As you can see, this subdivision, which was created in 1987, used Daylily Road and with some very long flag lots. At the time, Loper's Path existed, but was not developed.
Point out Lopers on that.
This one is Loper's here.
Okay.
So it is a fully developed road, town road.
And
at this
Daylily
point.
comes off Scuttle Hole.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yes.
yeah, I'm
Millstone.
trying to figure out
Two-
how Lopers and
It's
And
the
they
dead
really
portion
back-
of Lopers that acts itself in Millstone. So if you turn near the old Falkowski farm stand, it'll be just up on the right-hand side.
Brian, give us your name.
Brian Locascio with the Adam Miller Group, attorney for the applicant.
Lopers comes off of Millstone.
Off of Millstone.
Correct. So at the time this subdivision was created back in the 80s, Daylily Lane was the only improved access.
Right.
And as you would impose on any subdivision that had a common access point, common planning, but the language restricted us only to that lot. But this property has received multiple certificates of occupancy and compliance with the existing secondary access point. in existence and being used.
Lopers.
Off of Lopers, correct. As Seth stated, Lopers was improved subsequent to the creation of the subdivision map. So at the time this condition was imposed, there actually was no ability to access off of Lopers path, so it probably wasn't even a consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, I believe it's lot 1, the northwestern lot on this, has been further subdivided, and that lot was granted access off of Lopers path. So this wouldn't be a new condition being created in that a lot has been peeled off and given secondary access. I think as you stated, accessing off of Millstone Road from the dead end portion of Lopers, I think is a more logical access point rather than onto Scuttle Hole Road, which is a much busier road.
Yeah, it's hardly anyone ever
And
uses.
it'll funnel
Yeah.
them to the intersection.
It's the Lopers going east from Millstone.
Yeah, which
Okay.
is a dead end road. I mean, there is
Yeah.
another road off of that cul-de-sac road, but there's no through access. We're one of the, towards the end of the improved lots. There's not many houses behind us.
So part of the covenants and restrictions, LIBOR 10388, page 185, stated that the Vanderveer subdivision would have a single common driveway to Daylily. So what the applicant is
So it's a
proposing-
covenant amendment.
Yes.
And part of what's driving this is now the building department is deciding to now enforce this. So probably the 5th building permit that's been processed on this lot. They're refusing to give us a certificate of occupancy if this
For
either
which,
covenant is not amended or the driveway is abandoned, closed off.
There's the driveway to Lopers right now.
Correct, yep.
It's not approved.
Correct, which has been there on, I believe I submitted a few historic surveys in my packet, but there is record within the building department showing.
This is 2008. You can clearly see it. Well, if I get that out of the way.
Yep.
Sorry. There it is right there. And then back to 2001 and 1984. Nothing.
And it's definitely a town road, not
Yeah.
a trustee road.
No.
No, Lopers is a
Lopers,
town,
yeah.
town road, yep.
okay. Any other questions on this?
Yeah, no, I just,
We need
the light bulb just screwed in. I could see where the
connection.
was. I was
So we
having a
need a
hard time.
supermajority to end the covenant, and we have 5 people here. So if there are no more questions, motion
Motion.
by Gloria,
I'll second.
second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That was
you.
Great day.
And I'll be back.
Okay, Brenna, come up, please.
Punch it in.
So let me get you the latest. Sure. Of course. See you. Mitchell.
Yeah. This is 361 Mitchell Lane. It's in the Mitchell Lane Farm subdivision. It was approved in 1979 and filed with the county clerk. This is also on for a discussion and consideration of approval for amendment to the covenant for shared driveway access. So the covenants and restrictions call out a shared driveway access. The red lot is lot 18, that's 361, is that right? Oh, yeah. And the lot next to it, lot number 17 to the east or southeast.
Now, where are we? Give us a little bit
It's
of
Mitchell Lane,
context.
it's just above, just north of where the, can you zoom out a little bit, between, is it Butter Lane and,
Oops.
The
It's a little
circle.
far. Scuttle Hole to the north,
yeah,
west.
it's just above where the horse show is in that area,
Mhm.
all that Mitchell Lane that connects. Can we zoom?
Yep. So that would be.
Where that roundabout is, up there?
This is the Butter Lane area where there's some storage facilities going,
Yeah,
and then up
And
towards the
Ross
Ross School,
and so where is it?
following
See that
on.
the
Oh, it's
lot
up
that's
there.
outlined
Okay,
in red?
okay, good.
So that whole area that you're seeing is a subdivision from 1979 with the ag reserve, and there was a 20-lot subdivision fronting Butter and Mitchell Lane. But the subject lot is the red one, lot 18.
That's not World Peace, is it? What was the subdivision?
It was called Mitchell Farm Lane.
Mitchell Farmland
Yeah.
subdivision.
Mitchell Lane Farm, excuse me.
And what year was that?
1979. And the covenants and restrictions list a shared driveway between those two lots to Mitchell. The owner of Lot 18 has requested a covenant amendment to eliminate
so-
that common driveway.
So point out which one is 18.
So 18 is the one that's in red, outlined in
Okay,
red.
and the shared driveway is between 18?
This one?
Between 18 and 17, just to the east of that. The big house to the right, you know.
Here, take a seat.
I'll speak loudly, I promise.
Speak loud.
And carry a big stick.
The one in red is lot 18, and that's here, and this is lot 17.
So where was the shared driveway?
There was never a shared driveway. The lot 18 has had a house on that lot for probably since the 30s. It goes that far back. There was a structure on here early on as well. There's something here. The neighboring, yeah, you can see it better here. The lot 17 built a house in '06, and they have a C of O, and the driveway is on the far east side. So there's really sort of no way to share a lot. This lot, a driveway, this lot 18 is now in the building department and the town engineer for a curb cut and a building permit. They've since demoed since it's this aerial, and they're being held up because they want to figure out how to move forward because there's no
So they have to
there's no
amend the
common
covenant.
driveway. So yeah, the easier solution might be to amend the covenant, I think. This driveway's already here and there's no way they could probably share that.
So I don't know why I'm not following this one. So we had a common driveway covenant, but we never had an actual common driveway.
Correct.
That's right.
Can you go back to 1979 on the aerial so that we could see what they were thinking about? And zoom out a little bit.
These existed, these homes existed before, actually this one definitely existed before the subdivision. I think this one did as well. It's hard to tell if they had anything shared, but the intent was a lot of these lots that front Mitchell Lane, especially the flag lots, have a shared driveway. And the same went for a couple of the paired flag lots along Butter Lane. These two lots were not flag lots on the original subdivision. They both have minimum lot width and they both have full width frontage. So maybe the intent was to limit the amount of curb cuts on, a busy and now busier road. But
Well, and
that
it's an ag overlay district, so they
Yeah.
probably wanted to keep it expansive
Yeah.
versus,
yeah, chop it up.
Okay.
So 17 got approved even though it didn't adhere to the common driveway.
That's right. Somehow, I don't know if it came to the planning department at all, but they have approval for it, and it's been since 2006.
Sometimes things get caught and sometimes they don't.
And so that's 17 and 18. Now
Right.
what about 19 and 20, 14, 15, 16?
There's most of them. So these two lots back here, the CNR. Here, let me put the new aerial. These two require or have a shared common. There's a dividing fence, but there is one curb
Long
cut.
driveway.
Yeah, and then these three lots. This was originally two lots, one on the road and then two flags behind it.
So that's 14, 15, and 16
Yeah,
that
those
they're
three
prescribing to.
had a shared, but they don't have a shared. So I think this is the one other condition where they do not have a shared driveway. There's two separate driveways. The other conditions, this one does. I think it was this one. No, I don't think this one had a shared one. Across the way on
16
Butter
merged
Lane.
with 17.
I'm sorry.
16 merged with 17.
Are these 16 and 17? I can pull up. I have the subdivision map.
So are we looking to just amend the covenant?
They want to amend
for
the covenant
17 and 18?
for 18.
For 18,
For
that's all.
18.
All these other lots, are they going to be coming in at a later time, or what's the situation?
I
Yeah.
mean, they're all developed or being developed. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that they will. I don't think you're asking for an amendment for the entire subdivision. It's just as it affects lot 18. They want to move forward with their curb cut permit that they have.
So
in the
does
engineer.
18 have, is there a house on 18 right now?
There is.
So
Can-
both 17 and 18 were approved without adhering to the common drive.
17 was. 18 is in the building department as we speak. They,
But if there's a house there now, at some point it got approved.
the house was there before the subdivision. They just recently demolished so they can build a new house, and this is where it's getting caught up with the, because there's no easement as far as
But
you can see.
the other house, the other new house was able to be built without doing this because somebody didn't see the covenant.
I think so. Right. Was there anything?
My name is Alice Cooley. I'm from Matthews Kirsten Cooley, a law firm in East Hampton. I'm here on behalf of the owners of 361 Mitchell Lane, 361 ML LLC. They're here with me today. Like the previous applicant, they were surprised to learn of this covenant. They applied for their building permit. They were getting all set. They thought it was about ready to issue. They were told it was ready to issue, and then they found out about this covenant. So that's why we're here today. They do appreciate you hearing from us very quickly, so thank you so much, Brenna, and to the planning department for getting us on so quickly. This property that they bought it improved. They did intend to demolish and rebuild, but they bought it improved with a driveway in place, and they plan to rebuild and put the driveway back exactly where it was. As you can see, the driveway that it's supposed to share it with at lot 18, it couldn't be any further away from this property line. Something that's important to note, if this covenant were to try to be enforced, is that there is a big utility pole that's really close to the shared property line on lot 18. That's 347 Mitchell Lane. That would have to be moved. So you're talking about bringing in, I guess, PSEG as well. In addition, most of these properties, they do not share a driveway, even though it appears that there is a common driveway there. That driveway, first of all, is 45 feet wide. I think that kind of defies the purpose of having a shared driveway. It's not just a fence that separates it. I was there earlier today. That's a hedge. So I would argue that it is violated by the common scheme or plan and therefore unenforceable. So I think at the very least, this portion of the covenant is not enforceable by the town or the neighbors. So we would respectfully ask that this portion of it be undone by the board and that we be allowed to proceed with building on the site.
Thank you. Brenna, can you pull out what's behind that property? What's to the north?
Here?
Yeah.
There's two
And
flag
is that
lots.
an ag reserve up there?
This portion is, yeah. This,
And what's the access to that ag reserve? Is it on the north side of lot 17?
it looks like they might have
18?
access here to the east, and then looks like maybe through here as well. Butter Lane and Mitchell Lane.
Any questions about this?
I mean, just to review the history on it, it's interesting because in 1979 it was all farmland, right? So
Yeah.
the intent of the Ag Overlay District was to keep it not chopped up, to keep the expansive views, but over time cuts have been made to that. Mitchell has become a very busy road, and so the intent of the legislation was very good, but the time has
Right.
changed. So
And to have
you know.
ag parcels have fluid access to them so that farmers can get in and get
Mhm.
out, but now it's all developed.
So it's an
Interestingly,
interesting history for your client to hear.
This lot,
as-
though,
for the community.
had
Yeah.
a house on it for over 75 years and had the existing driveway for over 75 years. So I'd say we're grandfathered into this driveway location as well.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, so we'll amend this covenant. Somebody make a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor.
Thank you very
Two
much.
absent, thank you.
Thank the board.
Welcome. Seth, you want to come on Noyak Golf Club, Clubhouse Edition? Can you take these papers?
Nice shot.
away?
I have some background. This was handed out last time if you haven't. The last time we got with this project. Thought I'd bring them in as well, if you'd like. 2700 Noyak, doing what?
Oh, it says 26 on here. 26 maybe?
2600 Noyak
26.
Road. It's the golf course.
So I had sent you my staff report. I have it printed. I'm not sure. Mr. Tony Ponza is here.
Mr. Golf Course.
Mr. Golf
Mr. Golf
Course.
Course. That's,
Which one?
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Yep.
I like
A very clear aesthetic.
Why do we have two?
I think I handed you two by accident.
Okay. Okay. You could have
You
several.
have some?
Does everybody have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we got extras.
Seth,
Sorry.
do you want one?
Might need one, yes.
Actually, I've got two. I have a plethora.
This is the resolution.
to this.
All right, so 2600 Noyak Road is the Noyak Golf Clubhouse. Comes before you today for two additions to the clubhouse. One being 480 square feet, the other being 840. One for the buffet area, one for the kitchen. I have put together a staff report based on this project. It is located in CR 120 and CR 200 in Noyak and Sag Harbor. It is under the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. And I guess we can dig in. The secret determination classification is a type 2 action. There were no public comments during the 30-day period that was recently ended. The ARB has come back with a decision, that being an approval by no action. I do have the plans here if you would like to look at the facade and the design elements. The Sag Harbor Fire Prevention District weighed in with the standard proposed work shall not impede emergency vehicle access, and they withheld further judgment until a formal building plan is put in place, or sprinklers and such, I assume. The area is served by public service water mains and fire hydrants as well, they pointed out. The traffic access, the golf course main access will not be altered in this site plan. Neither will the need for any more parking. Tony, would you like to, if you hear anything, or I guess you can wait, okay? There are no new employees projected with this application either. The landscaping and screening, Tony pointed out that they had planned to lift the plants from the border area where they plan on doing the construction and then putting them back. They're not changing the landscape design or really trying to maintain the plants that they have in place. Importantly, this area was developed prior to APOD coming into effect in April 4th, '84. There won't be any alterations to its compliance with the master plan or the comp plan. Natural features, the area is previously disturbed, and the area where they're proposing to put the additions is also prior disturbed area. But they will be adding dry wells to retain further storm water generated from the gutters and roofing. Pavements. I have spoken to the town engineer this morning. He did a cursory review and did not find any issues, but will write his determination shortly. So
So let me just ask you something.
Of course,
You have special exception standards in here?
this is just a site plan review.
Oh, so you've just broken it down by traffic access, interior circulation? Okay.
Yes.
And I see those A, B, Cs, and Ds. Looks like special exception.
Yes, no, this is just the site plan. The lighting, Tony brought in information on the lighting. It is soffit lighting in compliance with the LED standards of dusk till dawn lighting. The next page, page 5, drainage. Again, I spoke to the town engineer, and what they have proposed is adequate. There will be adequate dry wells to retain 3 inches of stormwater accumulation. The additional square footage proposed to the clubhouse will not require any upgrade to the existing septic system. So,
Why is that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
because it's 24.9% of an addition, and at 25%, it is my understanding that's when a septic upgrade, but perhaps Brian can speak to that?
Tony.
Tony Panza, architect from Noyak Golf Club. We've actually made a application to the health department because in doing the addition, we're changing some of the equipment. So we have to make an application to the health department, and while doing so, we have to make an application to wastewater at the health department. Wastewater has said that it does not require an increase in the septic, and so we have the letter from them. They're waiting for the planning board to approve the project, and then they will hand over their letter that says that no increase is required.
What kind of septic do you have there now?
It's the existing on-site septic. It's the septic that was put in when the board approved of the clubhouse 14 years ago?
So it's
13, did you say?
13 years ago?
How is the dining room and lounge currently serviced without a kitchen?
There is a kitchen there.
Okay.
It's just that a little bit to go back some years, when the project was originally conceived of to build this clubhouse, the person that they hired wasn't familiar with commercial construction nor kitchens, and they've been operating out of a shoebox, and so there are some walk-ins and other elements that are in the pro shop building, and we want to bring those into the clubhouse so that they can stop going back and forth to the walk-in boxes.
Do you have as-built? Do you have as-built?
Yeah.
Here?
In there.
Like a floor plan to show the current equipment?
Not in the site plan package, but I have it for what we would be submitting for the building department.
Okay.
Has all the equipment.
And then what about Suffolk County Department of Health Services Food Safety?
So that's the 2 applications that we make. One of them is for wastewater, because anytime we submit for the kitchen equipment, they always revert back to wastewater.
Right.
And in order to make the filing for the kitchen equipment, we need the wastewater to approve,
First.
which requires the planning board.
So what's the difference in the square footage of kitchen food preparation area?
The increase?
What's the
It's one of
increase?
the additions. It's 840 square feet, although that's to the outside of
Compared to
the
now?
exterior wall. Compared to now, about 880 square.
880 square feet will now
Yeah.
be additional 840
So it's doubling.
square feet.
About 1,600 square feet. And it's not
Total.
all equipment space. It's divided up amongst dry storage, 2 walk-in boxes, and some additional equipment.
So for my background, I would be very interested to see the as-built layout of what your kitchen and active food preparation space versus storage space is now and what the increase is because of the APOD and the increase of activity with the kitchen and water. It's something that we need to consider carefully, not just the area, but the increased activity, with a kitchen, grease trap,
So,
everything associated with that.
so the I don't have the equipment with me, but I can go through it with you. The equipment Again, it's because everything is squished into a space. And if you were to see the dishwash, where the dishwash drop is approximately 4 feet. It really needs to be 8 feet. Where the pot wash is, there's a foot and a foot on each side. That needs to be 3 feet and 3 feet. It's an incredibly inefficient setup the way that it is. The prep space is the exact same space where they're plating. So there's no room for anyone to move. It's not looking to change what's happening there. It's just looking to provide the space which really should have been provided the first time because the kitchen was inadequately designed.
So it's like augmented counter space, essentially, and then to bring something in from the shed into the building.
Yeah,
So you're not increasing dishwashing capacity or
no, it's actually
water
the same dishwasher.
Same stuff.
It's the landing area for
Right.
both the
On either
drop
side.
on either side of that, and you say the same thing in the food prep area. There isn't an expediting area. So an expediting area is you make the food, you place it, and then someone else is making certain that it's properly plated and can check it. That doesn't happen there because the space just doesn't provide for it.
So the 840 square feet addition is primarily what you're talking about here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, that's the outside face of exterior wall
Mhm.
because that's what we know here. It's not actually the size. There's also a janitor's closet, which surprisingly wasn't in the original.
So is the golf club open to updating their septic system, given that this would allow them to probably do some larger events and increase the amount that their old septic system is handling? Is that something that we
Yeah,
can
I mean,
require?
It makes me nervous that we're going to be at the 25% where you'd be forced to do a new system. And it's obviously in an area that's really not just APOD, but it's so close to the water just on the other side of Noyak Road. My heart says put a new system in. And I know I can't ask for that.
Would your
That's
client
just
consider it?
Well, let me speak
Go
a
ahead.
little bit about that. A new system, I think you're speaking of an IA system. So when doing a clubhouse, you actually would have to have two systems. Kitchen waste doesn't go through an IA system because of the grease. The grease goes into a grease trap, but it has the ability of getting through the grease trap. So on a clubhouse, you wouldn't put any kitchen waste through an IA system. Only the bathrooms go through an IA system. So in this instance, it wouldn't actually, that portion of it would stay the same.
No. If you're having more people at events in the space, presumably adding a kitchen allows for more events that will be serviced by that kitchen and more people using the facilities.
Those bathrooms would be sized under building code, which is square footage of the building, which would then go to the septic. So that's a different system than the kitchen system. And the health department has, wastewater portion of health department has said that the changes that are being done doesn't require an enhancement of the system.
So you're not putting any bathrooms in, additional bathrooms?
Is this tied to any increase in membership or any increase in the seasonality of the club or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so let's move on.
Real quick, does the kitchen have a deep fryer?
Yes.
It does. What do they do with the spent oil? Is that removed or is it?
It has to be. Yeah, it goes into a barrel, steel barrel that gets picked up.
They have services that pick that up.
Some of the clubs have moved over to having it picked up by someone that recycles it, because that person will actually not charge for taking it, where the companies that used to just dump it, you do have to pay for them to take it away.
Does the site plan approval reference anything related to special events on the property?
Sure. I mean, they would have to go through the code department, the department here for special events. We don't have anything to do with that at all.
I believe they would have to get a permit from the building division for any special events.
Yeah.
That's how that.
That's a whole
would
other
play out.
area. So let's continue
Yeah.
moving through.
So, yeah, that was the utilities aspect. There's really, the public address sound system shall be prohibited. They have handicap parking already on the site. And energy conservation, Tony and I had discussed getting charging stations, but the parking lot is situated at such a great length from anything else that it wasn't something we could move forward with at this time. And that was really the heart of the matter.
Are your golf carts electric?
Yes, they're located in the other building. In the pro shop building.
Is there any solar?
Currently, no, but that other building, there's been talk of, if you're familiar with the site, the clubhouse that we're talking about is about 13 years old. It's a much different architecture than the pro shop building, which I think was in early 80s. So it's kind of distracting when you go up. And so that's on their boards to say we need to do something about that building. And at that point, then they would be able to deal with.
With solar?
And you've got 2 charging stations. See that?
I had looked at the roof orientation, but the 2 additions don't lend themselves to solar.
Well, they're tiny,
Yeah, and they're tiny.
tiny.
So,
So there was a famous architect who did the golf course years ago.
The building that building replaced some years ago, I wasn't involved in it, but it was a Norman Jaffe
A
building.
Norman Jaffe building, right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
updated by
so-
Ross Forbes. So I
So-
propose the adoption of the staff report as it stands. And if we can
Go
move
ahead.
forward on granting approval of the project.
Well, this is a draft staff report, so
Yes.
You have a
We have a
resolution here.
we have the resolution to adopt this. Why don't you just go through it?
Yeah, quite honestly, I handed out all my copies, I'm sorry.
You did.
Thank you. So to reiterate, no public comment was received, so the planning board has now reviewed this this staff report, and we have gone through the site plan elements.
The one thing I don't see in here, Seth, that I saw in your staff report was those 2 EV charging stations. Do we need to include that in the resolution?
Yeah.
Or am I missing?
Yeah, that must be an oversight on something I was hoping for that.
I thought he said that he didn't want them.
Yeah, no, he doesn't, he's not able to achieve that, so
So
I think I was
The charging
hoping for that.
stations
Yeah.
are not
No,
in the final cut?
no, they are not.
Okay, so go through the conditions.
Yes, the general conditions are all LED fixtures shall be 3,000 Kelvin or less
And just add and comply with dark skies.
and comply with dark skies, of course. Compliance with the fire prevention referral comments. The HVAC systems and all other utilities shall be screened and located so as not to be visible from the adjacent roadway and adjacent properties. There's actually the dusk to dawn lighting fixtures.
Okay, yeah.
So,
But we use the dark skies language, as we
the
always
dark
have,
skies,
yeah.
okay.
Comply with dark skies policy.
Okay, I'll add it in. No additional lighting on the property without planning board approval. All outdoor lighting shall project downward, and light sources shall not be visible by adjacent properties. No public address sound systems, bullhorns, or outdoor amplification are permitted. Prior to the signature of approved plans, we need to have the town engineer give us final approval. And then the items to be submitted as conditions of approval. Current landowner shall file a notarized affidavit, indicating compliance with the conditions of the site plan approval as set forth herein, and any deviation shall require review and approval by the planning board. 6 sets of final plans.
Right, that's a
and the
standard.
like.
Yeah. Okay, anything else you want to say?
Nothing additional.
Anything else the board wants to say? Okay, motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
One abstention. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor, 2 absent, and 1 abstention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you again.
Okay. Moving on to Claire, the sign, Bridgehampton. Bridgehampton Commons. Number 11.
So, Bridgehampton Commons, this was, an application you considered. Is there someone here for that? Hi, how are you? So you considered this back in January, and, it had received approval for the Barnes and Noble sign, that they were anxious to get open, the business is open, and they put up the sign in advance.
And I said it was too big.
Yes, and the board said it was too big, and you were right in terms of the master sign plan, which I will pull up. So what I did go back after your meeting and determine that the sign they're proposing is about 21 feet wide. This is the detail. I only have one copy of it. I'm sorry. They are. So that was 21 feet, but the rest of them with your master sign plan, anything in the fascia, including the larger units like Walgreens, and I think there's a couple others that have their, in the fascia itself, that little border, they were all limited to 12 feet at the widest. Some of them are 11, but that is the width is proposed. So as you said, it's larger in that area. Anybody who wanted to do a bigger sign like Ulta or, King Collins, the Kmart's been there for a bit, redid the face up above it. There's a window there, if you can see in the picture. So they replaced the window and then put the sign in that area, which might be appropriate in this case, but obviously it costs money to do that. But the applicant has come today to advocate for the 21-foot wide sign that is there, and yours to introduce yourself.
Mike Henry, Barnes and Noble. Good summary right there of what we're doing. Honestly, we didn't include any facade improvements on this project. It wasn't part of the deal with the real estate developer. A lot of discussion happened during the deal about the signage allotment, because we were taking more than the 8,000 square foot per the master sign agreement. We did it as part of combining tenant units on the smaller side, which didn't realize the impact, nor did we realize the interest we would get on it. So again, we are advocating for the sign. We did not investigate really doing any facade improvements just because of the cost, and quite honestly, we don't know how that would stem into the planning and the review and all that stuff, as well as, like I said, we didn't budget it in the project. We feel the sign that we've done is, although larger, appropriate. We didn't really want to go into the peak. We didn't want to lose the window. We like the windows. The windows give a nice context to that side of the center. In reference, we did not go for the multiple signs. Like I said, we had talked a little bit about, okay, if we go to the smaller sign, do we do multiple signs there, which we're not really, the redundancy doesn't help anyone. We're not looking to be a big monster. We don't want a big King Collins sign. We don't want any of that stuff, but we did want to have some levity due to the fact that we are over 9,000 square feet there.
Right. So I'm sure Claire gave you some history about the sign plan, the master plan, the signage, which took a very long time to put together, to make equitable for various size stores. And we have 100% compliance with the sign plan, which is great. And then you came along with a very oversized sign, which was very apparent. So 21 feet as opposed to 12, Claire? Is
12 is the max that I've seen with any of the units. Even this Walgreens, which is the larger units such as theirs.
Right, sort of like a double wide.
Yes.
So that's why we flagged it, because if one begins to give exceptions to the master plan, then believe me, there are going to be people here saying, oh, but can I make mine 5 feet bigger? Can I make mine 10? I think you understand that.
No, totally. Just point of clarification. Are we outside the square footage allotment of the sign, or is it just the length?
It's the length. Oh, no, because,
Okay.
I mean, because it would be, you know, code will allow you on the whole face of the building, right? Doesn't matter what unit you are. So no, it's not that you're not compliant with the code, you're just not in keeping with the style and the design that the planning board has
Other
foreseen
sign.
with the
Yeah,
master
so
sign.
Is there any
plan.
chance to make it
Yeah.
smaller? Is that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish I was Ulta, 4 letters. Barnes and Noble, I fight this around the country. Typically we do the Barnes and Noble with the booksellers below. That's technically our corporate logo. Listen, we can certainly look to reduce the size of the sign. Again, it just becomes, we disappear very quickly with our letter size. And unfortunately, yeah, we are penalized because our title has so many letters. It's a catch-22. Like I said, if we take that down 3-4 inches and squat it down to bring it in, 12 feet. I mean, it'll be smaller than the other tenants that you have to the left, the single tenant, smaller than the Dunkin' Donuts. It'll be our letters are
Why is that? Because Barnes and Noble? Because
yeah. Once we
right.
get that dimension.
Has it ever been done in 2 lines?
Pardon?
Has it ever been done in 2 lines?
Yeah, it just gets taller now. It's.
Well, what's the requirement if they did that, Claire?
We've only got, I want to say off the top of my head, that dimension.
I'd like to see it conforming and see what it looks like.
It'll look, yeah, it
Looks like 2 feet 6 inches is the clearance before the window,
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure.
Is what's troublesome. When somebody wanted to get the length, they had to do the facade improvement to get the height,
Right.
so they didn't have to go
Right,
over the
right.
window.
I can understand not losing the window because that's a nice feature.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's not.
Right.
Yeah, currently we have I think it's a
21 feet wide,
21-inch letter.
21-inch letter height.
The letter heights 21 inches. So to get it down to 12 feet, I want to say that goes down to like an 11-inch letter.
And your letter space and occurring, that's part of your brand, right?
Yeah, we can cheat it to tighten it up sometimes, but it doesn't get substantially better.
It's hard, man. Retail's hard enough right now. We don't like squeezing people, but this is Pandora's box for us.
Yeah, and it's not. Listen, our goal and our plan with the lease and everything was have this open last summer. We struggled to get open in the fall by Thanksgiving, which we knew. The holiday wasn't going to be the winter's not the busiest of time, but
It's a very nice addition to the center.
Yeah, unrelated to
And,
our history with Mr. Riggio, who's no longer with the company.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I said, we've been trying to
We
get
have an
back out here for a
application
long time.
for his horse home today.
So can you see what you can do? Just give us a drawing on it and a reduced size. I think what we're saying is that it's pretty difficult to deviate from the pattern and the process that we spent over a year developing. So
maybe in some way you can see that it's like it's smaller than the a lot of them are smaller than the window. So maybe use it in the window as the frame.
Yeah,
I don't know what that equals. Maybe it's 15 feet or 16
Well,
feet.
I'd like to see conforming and then something that they
Is
would
in
be
the
more
middle?
comfortable. Yes.
Yeah.
Remind me, what's the percentage of coverage for the signage? Just for the code, right?
5%.
So couldn't you just put books and then use window clings for your branding or something?
We could, but we like the Barnes and Noble name.
Sure. Yeah.
And it does. It has some cachet, and it's certainly
Yeah.
we're proud to be here. So we want the name.
But like if you
it's
integrated your branding into window clings at 75%, you could definitely integrate your brand, Barnes and Noble brand, across your window frontage, right?
Yeah, and we do have some window presentation too. And like I said, a little bit of it's on the lower side facing the back lot because we certainly didn't want to ask for another sign to put on the back side. So we thought we were doing a good thing by saying, let's just focus on the window clings. But no, I'm happy to draw it complying. I think, maybe not on the record, but I think everyone would agree that it's minute. It's super, super tiny. But then, like I said, we can look at some options to reduce it.
Yeah.
It's not a lit sign. It's only the gooseneck lighting, which we haven't corrected yet because we're still waiting to get final resolution. You know, it's not a lit sign, so this isn't a huge expense, and we want to get it right. Like, we want to get you guys comfortable with it too.
So you'll take a look at it.
Yes.
Thank you.
One thing I would like to ask is I have a violation outstanding that is currently repeating as we progress through the solution. I would like to talk about potentially stalling that, showing that we show good forward movement. And
Well, I can let them know that you've appeared before
Yes,
us today.
okay. Yeah.
So that would be easy. I can send an email to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, we
if
get
that helps.
a nice letter every month, so,
Yeah.
which we've been talking about. So that's great. No, I'm happy to do the options and come back.
Just a couple
Thank you,
options.
Mr. Henry.
That'd be
Good.
great. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hampton's Punkwog,
Yes.
again, another sign, right?
Another sign. This one is for a unit in, do you know who they took over? Do you know which unit you took over?
The mattress firm,
Oh,
30, I
yes.
think it was.
Yeah, so this is gone over review with the ARB, they indicated approval. And they're putting a pretty simple, board lettering sign, the two colors, right?
Yep.
What about
proposed.
these letters? I mean, they're huge.
So if you look at the last page,
I have only one sheet.
Yeah, I only had the one
Oh,
sheet
I
that
can
was
show you.
emailed to me, sorry.
so when we,
Identify yourself. with
up
record.
Chris Bonanno, 2 Whitcomb Avenue, and
wanna
one's
go
on
this
Anywhere,
way?
and one's on the
Oh, you're
6th.
shooting us.
So if you look at the last page here, obviously when they do that, they blow it up on the sheet. But we're actually coming in, these are the two existing signs that were there, and they're 11.4 feet, 11 foot 4 inches. Ours is only 10 foot.
Mhm.
Could we pass that around so we could actually
Yeah.
see it?
I think what makes it look big is that Sleepy's is one word. Your Tropical Smoothie
Correct.
Cafe.
Cafe, yeah.
Cafe looks
That's-
oversized.
That's their logo.
Hmm?
That's their logo. It's,
Change.
Is it?
Right, yeah.
They actually have 3 colors, and we went back to them and got it approved for 2 colors, because you guys have a.
We do.
Yeah.
Is there any restriction on letter height or just sign size
There is a
in
restriction on letter height. Claire, do you know what that is? We ran into that with Petco when they put their
Oh,
thing
right.
up, which is gigantic.
In this
See?
case,
The cafe.
so again, it's
Questioning.
based on square footage of the face of the building, and so it does. It's something like 75%. So, but not on a letter height itself. No, it's an overall square footage.
Isn't there something on the letter heights? I'm sure there is.
No, nothing. like
Did you
that.
say the overall dimensions match the mattress firm?
They're actually smaller.
A little smaller?
Yeah, the length of theirs was 11 foot 4 inches.
Inches,
Ours
that
is
shows that.
10.
Come on.
No, the size I understand, but it's just how many words you've got in there. You know, you've got 3 words, they've got 1. And so it's like a neater package.
Right.
Basically, you don't like the logo.
Unfortunately, you can't change it.
The letters pop.
Well, I think what you like is the relief of white space on the signage. So you have that square footage, and you can have this is the box, and we're going to make our logo the biggest. But could you show us it a little bit reduced so there's more white space in the signage and it matches the aesthetic?
I think we would be looking for that because it's like maxed out. No, I mean, it seems to me that, remember the Petco thing? That was huge.
The sign was huge.
Huge, outsized to whatever.
We'll just shrink it up.
Bring it down, 10% or something. Otherwise,
10%.
it is what
less
it
on the
is, yeah.
letters.
Yeah.
And the
that's
white
what-
space, keep the same,
Right.
and the
Just
letters.
take everything
10%.
and just,
Is it possible to get it approved with that stipulation?
no, we'd have to see it.
Do we have to come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the overall dimensions don't have to come down.
No,
Just the
just the
letters.
letters on the inside.
Content
Approximately
inside.
10%,
Well, yeah.
Do a little less, maybe? Wait.
Could play around with them.
Okay. All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the bridge, Claire,
It's off the agenda.
off the agenda, number 13. Hidden Cove Marina. Number 14. We have a few people.
So a little history on this. The site plan administrative review was submitted to us in April for the project. And initially it was submitted for a fence on the property, some overhead doors that have been installed on this building here, more adjacent to the wetlands, and a, I'm blanking now. What was the third thing?
It's a shower or something?
Outdoor shower. Correct, yes, thanks. It was not eligible for admin review because there was no previous site plan as a basis. This has a pre-existing non-conforming CO on the property. So it would be triggered to you. The applicant asked to be expedited given how small the improvements were. However, I went to the site. There are now canopies located more adjacent to the wetlands.
And
that would trigger
lights.
Yeah.
I was hiking in the area.
Have
so
you?
Yes,
So you've
I
seen it.
drove down to the town dock.
Okay, and there's a lot of activity.
Yes.
A lot of more things on going. So I'm going to deem it incomplete. I have a checklist with me for those items: a wetlands permit, a full site plan application to process this application prior to you reviewing it
Good.
with a public hearing, of course, because there's a lot of public interest that's been
And
emailed to
code
us.
enforcement or somebody is looking into some of these other.
Yes,
uh,
there's
concerns.
violations for the outdoor shower and the overhead door, but there will also be a violation for the canopy and such. So I'm going to give them 2 weeks to kind of come back with a good application. If not, I'm going to continue with the violations of the lighting and other things
Yeah.
that are on the property.
Good.
So, okay, so that's I'm recommending incomplete.
So motion to deem as incomplete.
Motion.
Motion by Craig, second by Gloria, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor,
Claire,
2
would you-
absent.
Would you mind zooming in?
Not at all. Go ahead.
Man, it's tight there, wow.
It's very
It's a small piece of property.
Yeah, and that's the town dock is on top.
Okay, so the next is Spionk floating photovoltaic.
What about Watermill
It is?
Square?
No, Watermill Square Associates, number 15.
Wait a minute.
You skip a beat?
Lost my way.
It's reapproving the outside
Hidden
seating.
Cove is incomplete. Watermill, sorry, 15, yeah.
So this is one that you had reviewed about a year ago.
Kasaki.
Outdoor seating, you approved 53 spots on the property. This is in between some of the buildings on the locator of the site. You had approved it conditioned on the fire marshal. The fire marshal came back and said, no.
No?
It wanted a better walkway through it, so they had to come back and redesign that.
Oh.
So I checked the site. They don't have the seating out there now. You would be approving the project as approved by the fire marshal this time. I left the condition, the fire marshal formal approval on this as a condition of approval.
So how many outdoor seats do they want?
53 total.
So how many tables is that?
That is approximately, they're about four tables. Some of them are 2.
So
but
like 10.
13.
I can count the tables. Do
Yeah,
you want me to put
sure.
that in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I'll add the number of tables.
Okay.
So for your consideration.
Do you want to read, Claire, what the?
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
the
result.
conditions?
Yep.
Okay, total seating for the restaurant is limited to 107 seats. Fire marshal approval for the 53 outdoor seats. Plan shall be labeled with the site plan and restaurant name, Watermill Square, C. White, Kasaki, and stamped by a licensed professional. The notarized affidavit and 6 sets of plans. And then I'll add the seating and the description.
53 outdoor seats and the number of tables.
Yeah, I can add that.
Okay. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay.
Anthony did RJS or?
That's off the agenda.
Oh,
16 is off.
I like that.
Claire, West Hampton Beach Fire District.
Yep.
Anthony, was there anything else off? I forgot to have another.
Number 29, Ocean View Park, Part 4, that's off the agenda.
Number 29 off. That's it, right?
Okay. So this is an existing storage building used by the West Hampton Beach Fire District, associated with their use on the property.
And is this in the town, not the village?
This is in the town, but this part of the town is serviced by the West Hampton Beach Fire District. Yes. So, but their main facility is in the village of West Hampton Beach.
Okay,
Yeah.
so why are we seeing this?
Because they own the building, they use it for storage, and what's the other use you have in the property?
I thought you said
Substation.
that it's in
This
the
is
West
outside
Hampton
the
Beach.
village, right?
It's in West Hampton Beach.
No, their main facility is in West Hampton Beach
Okay,
Village. This is their storage.
In the town.
In the town,
Okay, just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
right.
Do we have a?
Yes, I have some plans. Basically, it is an addition on this east side of 3,000 square feet to make the building a total of 8,000. Yes, that's great.
So I have 3 plans.
Can you identify
I will,
yourself for the record? Don't put it over the mic. Keep, no, get it off the mic. Thank you.
There we go.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Lou Casara. I'm a fire commissioner in West Hampton Beach Fire District, serving with Dean Culver, Don Metcalf as chairman, Tom Benjamin, Dean Culver, and Conrad Teller. The 5 of us are the commissioners in the district. So the district has owned this building for quite some time. We've been using the 5,000 square foot for storage. We service our own equipment inside, and we're proposing to make a 3,000 square foot addition, which would not contain a lavatory or any other further water use. We're not asking the taxpayer or burden the taxpayer for any funds for this project. We're fully funded. So we're looking to make the project, the physical location of the building larger to help service the community.
And what would it house?
It would be housing, well, so right now, we have a situation where we have high water. So we would be expanding our high water service. So over this past spring, there were many calls in a day, and have been. You've seen these super tides covering the docks, at example, Oakland's dock, and probably all the other small marinas. So when we are called, it's very hard to get there, so we are probably, every district needs more equipment in order to service people in need. So when the water is 4 feet high, we can't put $1 million fire truck through the water. We do have a brush truck, so we try to limit that. So far, the district owns 2 high water trucks, which need to be refurbished. Again, we're not going to be looking for money on that. We'll service those with existing funds, and we'll buy used equipment. But as you know, when you drive vehicles through saltwater,
in the height of 3 feet. You know, we did have one particular Saturday, there was 24 calls. Water comes up to the basements on the houses that are near the water line, wet the wires, and all the electronics start to send those signals, and the firemen are called out. So that is just one of the reasons. Predominantly, we are servicing our equipment inside. We're private, so we're servicing our own equipment. On the inside, we have our own mechanic on staff. So we would also be highly focused on servicing our equipment, of course. But we do have intention on adding probably 1 or 2 trucks for sure in the near future.
The water trucks or?
Definitely high water trucks, yeah.
High water
As far as
trucks.
fire apparatus, all of that will be serviced out of 92 Sunset Avenue in the village.
So you'll do mostly repairs, a repair shop, and then maybe 2 more vehicles?
Correct.
And this looks kind of like a standard Morton building
Correct.
type.
It's made by Star, but that is the concept.
Where is it, Claire? What zone is it in? It says-
What zone? It's
It's
a
here,
residential
40.
zone.
It's
Yeah.
a residential zone.
Yeah.
So it's a pre-existing.
It has been there for a bit, yes. You approved, the planning board approved the original building, I believe in 2005.
Have we seen what the building is gonna look like?
These are the building plans, but it is typically a Morton building to match the existing, which is beige.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's no hazardous materials or anything you have to worry about. So
No fuel.
just equipment, really.
So talk a little bit about parking now that you're adding 3,000 square feet.
Well,
Does it?
So the parcel is not housed by men or any employees, so we wouldn't be calling out for any more parking or needed parking. But even if the event did happen, as in 2014, I believe, it's not 14, 2000. Claire, do you remember what the new building was built? No, we wouldn't know that.
Oh, the building, this
Was it
original building?
2000s,
Or the temporary building?
2000 around 15, I believe.
Mhm.
92 Sunset Avenue was built out. So we service out of a soft building in this very location where we want to now make a full structure. So servicing the community out of that location is possible. So the way it works is the district is responsible for taxpayer money. So the commissioners will make decisions as to how to spend it and so forth. The existing fire chief would make the decision as to whether he would ever want to run a call out of there. So if we had our first responding vehicles there, yeah, you could have on every truck 6 guys, times 2 is 12. Radio people show up, commissioners show up, you could have 20 cars show up in a second on a fire call. But that is not going to happen out of that, regardless of its residential location. Everything that is done there is on the quiet side. We don't do drills there, although, I would like to see drills be done there. Our drills are, using hand tools and so forth, so not to always use 92 Sunset Avenue. But that is not the decision of the commissioner. That is the decision of the chief and how the chief feels he's running the department. Right now, our chief is Darrell Shunk. He has serviced now for his 2nd term. If you remember way back, his father and uncle actually built fire trucks. They were the people that were actually building these first brush trucks when we started to experience brush fires in the Pine Barrens and so forth. So, answering your question, I don't think parking really would come into play, but if it did, it would be to service a client, a taxpayer, who is in need. Very simple. And it would be a one and done. It's not something that we're asking for an ongoing use of the location as a firehouse. But again, as a commissioner, I'm sure I could probably draw a majority that there are guys that would use it as a firehouse. However, we have a beautiful building on 92 Sunset, and there's just no need for it, even regardless of all the extra expansion that's going on. We don't have a lot of MVAs in our area. We have very few over 30-mile-an-hour areas, unlike Hampton Bays and your area here in Southampton. We're called out quite often, but I just don't see the need to use it as a firehouse. It would be as a garage, mechanic. If there was an instance, it would be an instance where, by circumstance, 92 Sunset was not available, or I can't see the scenario.
So what happens in terms of dispatch if you need the high water vehicle there? Or, how do you get it out of the neighborhood without just causing a huge disruption?
Well, it's very easy. The engine is loud. It's diesel.
Yes.
So when the call comes over, comes through county, the chiefs get the response seconds first. He might call secondary chief or whoever, one of his captains, who's ever going to drive the truck. But as the call comes over, you have to remember dispatch is going to take the call and going to send it out as a structure fire and not responding out of that building. So if there was a hurricane, the chief in a meeting would say, hey guys, it's hurricane season, be on the alert. If we have a call, I want a driver to drive over to Seabreeze, be ready. So that is a chief's call, not a commissioner's call. But the call comes over from a 911 operator or whoever that says, hey, I have water in my basement, I see smoke. They're probably going to send the truck out. If we just experience a lot of rain, you know if it's flooding. Just drive down Toon Road. It's easy to know that you're in flood season, in our area. So, but again, it's not a commissioner decision. It's the call, the way it comes in. There could be a call right now that says there's 5 feet of water in your basement. Call came in that way. I'm not sure how the chief would respond to that, but
to your question about parking, that's kind of what I was trying to paint the picture for
Yeah.
us, right? Everything's dispatched out of 92 Sunset,
Right.
but then a driver would go over and get the required
So-
equipment.
in the same respect, I'm going to just mention Patchogue. Patchogue still allows their guys to drive to the fire scene. We do not. Most of the
Right.
districts out in this end do not. So even if the truck left out of there, let's just say for example, it would unfortunately have to drive to the big house first at 92 Sunset to pick up the men where the gear is.
Right.
Again, as commissioner, we could probably set up outfit, water gear there and everything that is necessary. But I doubt that's going to happen. If somebody was drowning and it was imminent, all other aspects come into play first. You guys are running in the water before they're waiting for a truck. They're swimming out. I mean, we have swimmers, the swim team, there's still the police, there's a lot of other avenues. But I don't think you've ever gotten a negative call on us about noise ever, and I don't expect it to happen from here
I'm
going
just thinking
forward.
in terms of what we're looking at in Watermill, and a residential,
different- yeah.
a fire station in a residential area versus a storage of equipment that
saying
would
they're
go
good
and pick up
neighbors.
another.
Yeah, we're very
So
good neighbors. I mean,
thanks for painting
as good
that
as we
picture.
can be. So we did do an exterior cleanup of the area. We trimmed bushes. We're trying to really stay on top of it. Of course, it always could be better, as with anyone. But we are aiming in the direction of hopefully getting this approved and beautifying the area. We have a bid out with a landscaper to beautify the north side of the property. That would be right just to Mr. Tebow, the neighbor next door. The house, which is the new brown gray roof. So we're on the back here to the right and to the north. That's a fairly new house. There's a fence there. The middle house, at our choice, we have a tree that's bending over. Actually, you can see that. That's a tree that's kind of impeding on our that area, the gravel area. So that's coming out, and 20 green giants are going in. They're 8 foot in size.
Oh, good, because I was just gonna say, there's an opportunity here to put some buffering
Right.
around some of the property.
We're cognizant of that.
Yeah, so I think we could add that.
What's the parking lot across the street?
Come again.
Can you zoom out a little bit?
Parking across. That's the Bowie Restaurant now. The Catch, K-E.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, right.
And it looks like you've got a pretty good-sized parking area
We
there.
do. And it's very wide.
I was gonna say, it looks like about 50 feet between the building
I would
and
say
the
it's
edge of the
about right.
pavement. But 70 to your existing building, I think your new one comes out a little farther. Looks like
we have a
maybe
truck in
50.
there right now, in surplus, which is trying to sell it. So he can easily pull right out and pull right. We've had our ladder truck in there as well. There's just enough distance to stick the ladder truck in there.
So if they park along the south edge, looks like you've got a
Correct.
lot of space.
Correct. But again, if there was a call out, it would be no more than 5 or 6 cars. Could be 10, but it's not the type of building that guys are going to hang out in. There's just no recreation.
Right.
There's an ice machine and probably no beverages, and I don't mean anything other than water
Right.
there. It's just not a place anybody really goes other than our mechanic. We will build out a beautiful mechanic shop for him if this is approved.
Well, your other firehouse is beautiful. You have your annual event there,
Yes,
which
yes.
I've gone to a number of times with my
Very
boys.
good. So I'm very proud to be part of the fire district. So I'm
You
a
should be.
pharmacist.
Are you all volunteers?
Yes, and I'm a volunteer as well. So I'm a pharmacist. I vaccinated the whole town, and the guys asked me to be an honorary member of the department. And you know, my business acumen is pretty cool. So they asked me again to become a commissioner.
And here you are.
Now, I
Okay.
don't know if
I
this is
enjoy
even
it.
allowable, but for consideration, in the event of an emergency, an event of emergency, we should all be working together. Would it be worth a conversation with the owners of the
I think
the
so.
catch building? Say,
In that case?
could we use your parking lot as overflow in the event of an emergency?
Believe it or not, it would never happen. Not to contradict you,
Yep.
Mr. Catalano. It just wouldn't happen. The
Okay.
guys are neat and clean, one car per man. It's just, if you were talking about world, like a disaster, a local disaster, a plane crash or something like that, I'm not sure if anybody would ask permission. They would just commandeer the lot and just make it happen.
Right.
I just don't think, but the district is not in the business of barter. So I wouldn't go to them, and I'm sure my chairman would not like me to say, "Oh yeah, we could barter." We just can't do that.
Yeah, I understand.
We're operating under a tax base, and like you, we have to respect the taxpayer.
It makes
So I couldn't do that. I would have to turn you down on that offer.
Claire, do you have
I
something
just
to
know
look at?
only to the point that we can definitely service because again, behind that building, if there was a parking issue, you can jam probably 4 cars behind it. If there ever was the need, using a plane crash as an example, but probably never going to have that situation.
I can write something up for the end of the meeting if you'd like something.
Or-
20 Green Giants as being the
Yeah,
condition
and
on the north
buffering
side.
On the back and the side, yeah.
Okay,
and the
anything
residential
else as
yard.
conditions?
Excuse me, Claire. So I have with me. I did bring it.
A landscaping
I
plan?
have a quote which we had raised up. So we're battling over dollars. So excuse me. So this quote is not finalized. It's through Chips Evergreen, and the reason being is on this quote. So I did a lot of the work here myself. I worked with the guys, and I wound up saving the district about $1,200. I got some exercise for the day. So I asked them to divert the $1,200 towards further trees. So I do have a quote, limited proof of. And if you said to me, hey, we want it to be 20 or whatever it takes up that space divided by 4 feet per tree, you're going to have my word on that. And Claire, you could write it up and hold me to it. It would be fine. But we have actually a correction of 5. It's really 10. But if it had to be 20, I would be okay with that. I'm sure the district would be fine with that. We could make that work.
Okay.
But this is just.
But it's up to you. I can write it after the fact if you want to approve it. That would be the condition.
But this is just.
Yeah,
it's
just make
not-
it,
it's
but we
not
don't have
proposed.
anything we're looking at here. Do you have it?
These are the plans that would be approved. And then the addition is 3,000 square feet. It's on an existing 5,000 square foot building. So that's the description. It's a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA. And then the discussion you had today at the meeting. You have some questions.
So the question is whether we approve it now without a.
Resolution.
Or I can write a
Resolution.
resolution for the end of the meeting today or
Okay.
for 2 weeks. Are you in a big rush?
No.
No.
Let's do it for the
For
27th.
2 weeks, okay, great.
Perfect. And I'll give it to you ahead of time. You won't have to appear.
Thank you. And Claire, so town board did approve our waiver. Is that
Yes.
important to the planning board?
It
or-
is important to the
Yeah.
planning board, and I will put the reference in the
Okay.
planning board resolution. Yeah.
Thank you
Great.
very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
That's a copy of the- any-
I think you can keep it.
That's fine. I have another copy.
And then just take your originals back that you need.
Okay, and
Yeah.
in your plan, you'll propose how many trees you'd like for that area?
And well, you said 20, so.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's
Well,
okay.
you'll show it on the plan, right?
Can we do
They
it?
can show a plan. They
Can we
show
do
a
it based on that measurement? I don't know the exact distance I know his name, I don't want to say the neighbor's name, but his parcel divided by 4 feet, can we do it that way, or
Yeah, we can,
something
but
like that?
I'll write it like that.
It may not be 20,
or-
that's why I say.
Yeah, let me do some computations and we
Yeah,
can make it clear.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
Thank you
perfect.
very much. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Teresa, we have a lot of stuff still to do. I don't want to keep putting it off, but can we just wait to see where we are today?
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Because we have all this other stuff to do.
Thank you for the reference.
So let's hold it for a bit. And go on to
Wait,
nine.
go to your other thing.
Yeah, let's go to Rivian, number 19. piece in that basket.
I'll do it, Joanna.
She's got all kinds of funny stuff.
Okay,
Okay,
so
okay.
the property is located at Montauk Highway in Watermill, and it was the former patio.com site. And so they are seeking to convert it to what is essentially an automotive dealership.
Was
They
that,
did seek, recommended by the board during the work session, they did seek an interpretation from the chief
Building.
building inspector, and he determined that one, it is essentially a car dealership, and then the coffee shop use is a secondary retail shop.
Uh-huh.
And so, at present, they currently do not have sufficient area for the number of uses that are proposed. So the application is being deemed complete for either revised plans eliminating the coffee shop or seeking a variance. We are recommending that they just eliminate the coffee shop. They also need to submit revised plans that show the septic system upgrade and the nearest fire hydrant. So it is incomplete at the moment.
Okay, motion to deem it incomplete?
Motion.
By Kate, second by Gloria. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Jeff Auerbach?
Yes. Here you are, here's my resolution. Carl Benacasa is here to represent the applicant. This is 27 Hearn Place. This was before you and deemed incomplete. I believe at the last meeting. I can't recall if it was the one before or the one prior to that. Since our last meeting, when it was deemed incomplete, they have come in with new plans that do show the wetland that was flagged by when the environmental division went out. They have altered the subdivision line, so it is, sorry. It is a vacant property. 2 lots are proposed, 20,794 and 19,185 in an R15. It is complete at this point for section 29210 for minor subdivisions. And I would suggest using
Public hearing?
yes, public hearing
6/27.
July 11th.
Oh, you changed it.
Did I not write July 11th on there?
The resolution
It,
says
yes,
July
but the one in the packet said 6/27.
Oh yeah, he changed it.
Too many?
No, you're good.
No, there's only one.
2, she said. Okay, so we'll deem it complete and
complete.
schedule a public hearing for July 11. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by
Second.
Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Teresa, you are Kump Estates. Yeah.
The application is seeking approval of a 2-lot subdivision on 16 Cedar Point Road in Noyak. I've reviewed the application, and based on my knowledge of the area, the application is incomplete because there are town-regulated wetlands both here and here, which need to be flagged pursuant to Chapter 325. So that is the most pressing item. There's also the need to have the existing limits of clearing shown, as well as the water supply and sanitary systems of the existing dwelling. And then an archaeology report also will need to be filed prior to final subdivision. So I am recommending it be deemed incomplete at the moment.
Okay. Motion? Motion by Gloria and second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor,
Teresa,
2
when you
absent.
put the resolution in the packet, I'd love to see the checklist.
Okay,
It was attached here, but it was not in the packet.
Okay.
And that, I like to see why.
Okay.
It's incomplete.
Yeah.
Anthony, Jacqueline Cressy.
Cressy, right?
Been
Remember
around
this
a
one?
while.
So the board might remember this application. Gloria is very familiar with the neighborhood. It was involving these two properties on
Yeah.
Bayview Drive. The one here, where you can see the existing residence is, well, sitting on the
Do you
beach.
see the monster that's being built?
Yes,
East?
this,
Oh,
There must be enough concrete to build 7 houses.
yeah, it's quite big. This application, everyone might recall, was a lot line change to give some land from this property to this property so we could retreat away from the shoreline. And then to redevelop this property with some new structures.
Well,
This
originally it
a
was two
complicated
new,
application, if you recall.
2 new structures, but then it was just one.
Then it was just one. The one that's
on the water, in the
that's on
water.
Yeah, in the water. That's the one we're looking at. This required variances from the zoning board. After a year and a half with us, they were successful in zoning. They got their DEC approval, and they got their health department approval. So I'm just actually recommending that we deem the application complete and schedule the hearing for July 11th.
okay, good. So motion? Motion by Gloria and second by Craig, all in favor.
Why does it say incomplete on my
It
notes?
was, I thought it was.
Okay, all right.
Complete and scheduled for when?
July 11th.
July 11th, scheduled for July 11th. I didn't take a vote. You moved it?
Yes.
Gloria moved it, Craig seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Did you hear it?
So now we have 3 on July 11th.
Yeah, 3 or 4,
Wow.
Kristen?
We now have 4.
4.
Okay.
Okay. 314 North McGee Street.
Yeah, so this is in Tuckahoe. Carl's not here right now, but this is a property, an existing residence. It is in the R20 zoning district and the New York State archaeological sensitive area. This is all town land behind this property. We've looked at this a few times. The applicant, the big issue with this one is the yield map, but the applicant is showing a yield of 4 lots. They do show a park now on this one, which was what was missing before.
It's a generous park.
Well, that's just for the yield purposes. It's just got to be of a certain size. They are showing
Open space.
some open space on this, whether or not this open space.
Fragmented.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is a pre-application. So obviously we'll comment. The big thing with this one was on the yield map. Because of the odd shape of the property, you have this land in the front that you could get enough lot area to get a lot out of it, but you can't meet the lot width requirement.
Mhm.
So
So it goes down to 3.
So it
Three.
well, yeah, for our purposes, it goes down to 3. Our report will say that.
Yeah.
Now, the applicant has options. They could attempt to transfer, they could attempt to get relief, and that'll be at their discretion. But our report's going to ultimately say it. At this stage of the game, the applicant wants to proceed and roll the dice and see how it goes. But, in any case, I know we would require the cluster plan. Then the question becomes, is it going to be 3 lots or is it going to be 4 lots?
Mhm.
For our purposes, it's 3. And, if they bring the development right, like I said, the lot area is fine. They're short. They're short by 4 feet, actually, on the lot width is what it is.
So that's
Can you show that
varianceable.
again?
That may be varianceable. To be quite honest, it may be a
Is that
minor variance.
Is that a new word? I just
You
came
made
up.
it up and I'm agreeing with it. So we're talking 4 feet. Technically speaking, on dimensional variances, when you're less than 20, when you're 20% or less on a variance request, it's a minor variance. So
Minor.
it'll be interesting to see. But nevertheless,
I don't really understand that layout. Can you just hold it up.
Which roads, I'm happy,
North
Oh, sorry.
McGee.
So you have North McGee, lot comes in here, and goes back there. That's basically what you
Oh, I see, so that's an out parcel
That's,
in the
yeah, that's a
corner?
lot, that's a lot up here.
But that's an out parcel.
Yeah, so this is the lot here.
oh, yeah,
Okay,
see, there's a
all
Oh,
house.
yeah, yeah,
There's
sorry.
one,
Yeah,
And they're proposing, they're showing a road.
2, 3, 4.
They're showing 4.
But this is the one that's an issue.
This one is 4 feet shy, a lot less.
okay.
Now,
And
is
not
that
very,
town-owned
not
property?
very much open space,
No, this on
But-
the yield
but that-
map, so this is just a park, to show.
but that's at least on the side with where the town-owned land is.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. On this one, and the applicant already knows it, they're showing some open space here. Our recommendation ultimately would be to have it all in the back.
Yep.
That's where we would ask for it. So
is it in any overlay district? I mean, it's fully wooded.
it is, I don't remember.
I'm not, some of that is an APOD, which I still don't understand, but.
It is not, let me, well,
Just
here, I'm
archaeological.
going to verify it, so
Looks like just archaeological.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, there's so much town-owned land, how could that not be an APOD?
Yeah, we are not in Aquifer.
Not,
But we could talk about clearing
yes.
limitations and all that kind of
So,
stuff.
exactly.
We have 4 for that night, so do you want to go to the second meeting or?
Yeah.
All right, so when's our next meeting in July then?
So it's complete, Anthony, it's complete?
It's complete. And I would schedule it for July 25th.
Okay, so deem this complete and schedule a public hearing for July 25th. Motion?
Motion.
By Kate.
Second.
Second by Gloria, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Teresa. Louis Riggio, the horse farm.
Is it Louis or Louise?
Hmm?
Is it Louis or
Louis.
Louise?
I believe it's Louise. Did
Okay.
I misspell it as Louis?
No, because Louis, isn't.
Lou Riggio.
Lou Riggio is the
Yeah,
former B&A guy.
correct.
Actually, no.
Yes.
From work.
From work.
Okay, so the planning board had previously reviewed this project because the applicant had sought a covenant amendment to allow reconfiguration of the ag reserve and where they were allowed to build structures. You had given approval for that, subject to filing a new covenant. They have now come in to construct the new riding arena and stables, which will be in approximately this area, which would be part of the reconfigured ag easement. However, the town has yet to receive the draft covenant documents allowing for the reconfiguration. And then there's some other items on the site plan that need to be provided, so I am recommending the application be deemed incomplete.
What is this road?
This is Seven Ponds Tout. You can see here. This is, I believe, Great Hill Road. No, Edge of Woods Road.
Edge of Woods.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so we're deeming this incomplete. Motion?
Motion?
Motion by Gloria, second by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Claire, the Spionk floating photovoltaic, number 25.
Hi, how are you? So this is we have received a pre-submission application back in February. We've had a work session. We discussed it at the meeting. It was a work session. And I prepared a resolution related to whether to schedule a pre-submission conference on this application. The applicant's here, so after I say my piece, we might want to hear from the applicant on this application. Oh, you're familiar with it. This is a mine that has an existing, do you mind pulling up, Anthony? The address is 1166 Beyond Riverhead Road.
Did we not have 2 different applications for?
This is the one on the
This
water.
it's
Just the
confused.
water.
It's
Okay.
confusing. There's
Yeah,
there
that's-
was a referral on another.
Okay.
Yes. But this one is the situation where this is an existing sand mine.
Yes.
It has a pond on the property
Yeah.
now.
I remember now.
With
seeing
their
this.
activity, it's getting larger as we
It's
as you
growing.
see the aerials, it gets larger every time you look at it. Their proposal is that it will be a 14-acre pond, and they're proposing floating voltaic on it, the pre-submission. My point is that it's not a 14-acre pond yet, and so there's no way to actually review that accurately without that existing condition on the property. So I don't think it's ripe for a pre-submission. I have reviewed this with Christine, who's not here right now, and she's seen this resolution. So, but I think the applicant does not know that we're doing that today. But as I said, I don't think it's ripe. So my wording is.
Do you have
Yeah,
something for us?
resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll read it to the record.
Please.
So it is a request for a pre-submission conference entitled Beyond Floating Voltaic, Photovoltaic. It was received by the Planning Board on February 8th, 2024. The site plan application proposed the development of a commercial scale solar project, 7,300 kilowatts DC floating photovoltaic on a proposed 14-acre water body on a 32.9 acre parcel currently used as a sand mine, located in the CR 200 zoning district at 1166 Spionk River Head Road in Spionk, Remsenburg. Whereas at the March 14th, 2024 and April 25th, 2024 Planning Board meetings, the project was discussed, including information regarding the expansion of the water body, currently between 4 and 5 acres in area, to a proposed 14 acres, which requires approval from the New York State DEC for the expansion of the mining operation on the subject property. Whereas the Planning Board finds that due to the fact that the 14-acre water body does not exist and may not be permitted, it would not be possible to review the project accurately for the site plan special exception standards pursuant to Section 330-182, 330-122, 330-162.24 of the Town Code and the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So you're saying that because two things. Number one, that it isn't up to that size, but second, that the DEC has to approve okaying it to that size.
Correct.
Correct.
That was the information provided by the
Okay,
applicant. in these
I just
meetings.
wanted.
Okay.
So I'm recommending deeming it incomplete.
Can
Deeming
I ask a question about it?
Yeah.
And so, presuming if this were to be deemed incomplete, the applicant would then have to make a decision whether to come forward with an application for the current 5-acre size that
That
it
is an option for them.
or wait until the
It
14-acre is
It grows
approved.
at DEC.
But isn't my understanding that this would not be an opportunity site, because an opportunity site would have to be a reclaimed mining operation,
That is
not
another
a current.
point.
So that was very much at the top of the list.
That is another point,
Yeah.
yes. But I'm just focusing in on,
the
not
incomplete.
very often do we have a what if situation. When we review your application, you usually get existing conditions, and that is what you're dealing with, and that's the entity that you use for,
Right.
so.
So before we take a vote, would you like to say anything to us, or Claire, do they have this? Or
No,
they don't?
they do not.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Kevin Brown, Overland Brown, Syracuse, New York, attorney for the applicant. We did, following the discussion last month, we understood there was just the time. We projected about 4 years to complete the mining and then begin the installation. And the question was raised by the board: is there could you do a phased plan? Could it be phased in? So we did spend quite a bit of time looking at the options. And given this resolution, what we'll do is we'll get back to you with what our options are for a phased plan on the lake.
Okay, that sounds fair.
I would say that any construction project requires work on the land. Any project you do, anytime you put in a solar project, the site conditions are going to have to be affected while you do that. But with that, we'll be back with a phased plan.
Okay.
That's what we intend to do.
Great, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to adopt this. Claire, even though you've got this draft in progress, is
Because it was not in the minutes track yet.
So we're
that's
labeling
why
it.
It's going to be taken off, and honestly, be part of the minutes.
So we're voting on this?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. So, a motion to adopt this report by Kate, second by Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you. Thank you, Claire.
Okay.
Okay, the Eastport Mobile Home Park.
Madam Chair, I have to recuse myself from this file because I've spoken publicly about my concerns about impact on environment, community,
Okay.
traffic, schools, and I've also sent emails to elected officials on the state level asking for additional oversight. So
Okay, great.
because of that, I'm going to recuse myself.
You have to leave.
I have to leave.
Yes,
Even for
leave-
this?
leave the
Yes.
room.
Out that door and I
Yes,
Yeah, you can go out that way or that way.
Sure.
Thank you. So Claire,
I'm gonna get you some plans, so you can take a look at them. Here's the resolution. I'm not gonna throw out this unless you want it.
no, no, take it.
Take it back. Okay, so we received a pre-submission conference application for the East Ports Mobile Home Park. I get confused.
Come here, Claire, so we can hear you better.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't hear?
No, well, you're not even talking anywhere near the microphone.
I'm not?
Well, that's
No.
not an amplifying microphone.
I know, but even so, it was.
Better here.
Yes. So this is the application we received for pre-submission, East Port Mobile Home Park. In accordance with the information given to date, it's got 90 rights to 93 units on the property, 2 parcels located on the property. So they are in various states of disrepair. Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, exactly. So there's been activity that's already occurred on the property, clearing,
No, I don't have one. I need one.
movement of various units and things like that. So there has been some stop work orders, some review between Janice and the applicants, and the word was to come to planning for improvements related to lighting. I have the description there. Lighting, landscaping, roadways, and drainage. So the landscaping is related to the fact that there's some buffers on the property. There's 20-foot buffers that were established by the Zoning Board of Appeals when they established these units back in the 60s. And then a 150-foot buffer, which I'm asking them to put on the property too. That's described right in the ZBA
Do we have that?
application. So that's the aerial.
That's been fully cleared, I understand.
It's been I have not been to the site, but I understand it has been cleared.
And
So
is that, there's a stop work order on it?
there is a stop work order on the property. So that was the original before the work had commenced.
Okay, so we've not seen this
No.
before. So, I mean, this is the kind, because it's a massive project, that we should really have a work session on.
The
Right.
applicants,
Dave?
This property was approved for David Gilmore and Greenberg Torrey. This property was approved for this use back in the 60s, and your review of this is pretty limited. It's the gates, the lighting, and the landscape. So,
Why? Because it's a pre-existing non-conforming lot? Is that
correct,
why?
yeah, and we had site plan approval in the 60s for it. So it exists. We've actually got
60 years ago, David.
Well, be that as it may, it's as valid today as it was back then.
Site plan approval or zoning board of appeals approval?
I think it's site plan approval.
I mean, I don't see
No.
any
And-
files.
Well,
I mean,
I'll dig
we'll,
through
we'll
it.
clarify that.
That's the
Yeah.
information that I got, and we can figure that
Okay.
out. But we do have the approval for it, and we have gotten 36 building permits to replace some of their manufactured homes that were in disrepair. So, we are moving towards radically improving what was not a very nice place. So I think the board needs to understand that the review is limited, again, to lighting, landscaping, and the installation of gates. We can talk about the driveway improvements. Right now, they're dirt roads and some gravel and dirt going into the pads, but these are going to be improved and made to look nice. But it's a limited review. So while it appears to be big because of
Well,
what you're looking at.
there's issues of traffic circulation, impact of all of those. I mean, it really would be cooperative of you if you would do a work session with us so that we can at least air out any issues that we have in that process.
But
And we
I'm-
could do
I'm-
it in 2 weeks, the next
I'm
session.
happy to come to a work session
Yeah.
and discuss it with you. However, I want it to be understood what's at issue here and what's going to be discussed and what we're entitled to and not entitled to.
Okay,
And what we
but-
have to get approval for.
But Claire, you said something, you don't have a file on this, right? I mean,
Oh, as far as I know, there was not a site plan approval. I have not found one to date. Zoning Board of Appeals granted them units in 93, which has been verified at some level.
It was 97, we've reduced it. There were two, I think 95, it got reduced to 93 because two are actually in the 6,450-foot buffer area, but were approved by the town to be put there. And we're waiting for the owner of those to move out so that we can take them out of the buffer area.
Understand.
But they were approved, and we haven't asked for those to be relocated anywhere.
Okay, but given that we do not have some files and some back information from the 1960s, do we have documents or they have to be pulled from archives or what?
Oh, they don't have site plan approval. They have Zoning Board of Appeals approval, as far as I know to date.
And what's that
That's, so
approval
we're
for?
being guided by that. So look,
Okay.
why don't you
We'll get
speak
the,
with
we'll get the
Claire,
records. Yeah.
get the records, and let's schedule a public
work
work
session.
session for next session.
On the 27th, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So what we could or should discuss at the work session will depend on what files are.
Yeah, what
to
you
be-
find.
I mean,
Claire
it's fully
doesn't have
approved,
anything.
right? It's fully approved by the town. There's
Well, it's
been,
approved by the ZBA, is that
there's
it?
been no question as to its legality, and we've been dealing with this since I think October. And nobody's questioned the legality of our ability to have those 93 units. That's not at issue here.
Yeah. I don't know, Dave, it's new to us, so,
Claire, what
I'm
did
sure
the
you'll share whatever you have with Claire.
Well, and
Yeah.
what has the ZBA approved?
It could be 97 units. I'm just saying 93 because that was the application
correct.
that you put in front of us.
But why would they before the ZBA?
In the 1960 was the first one.
I say 6061.
6061 was the first one, and it approved a certain amount of units. And then in 1964,
Four.
there was another set of units.
So
that
was
were
there
approved.
was not necessary to go to the planning board? I'm trying to understand where this fits in the.
That's
Yeah,
a
we
great
never had a
question.
site plan.
I've never seen a 1964 site plan
The
for
thing
planning
is, like,
board.
a lot, there was so much planning activity in, 1972 and going forward with the highway stuff, so I don't know what the history is on terms of planning review requirement at
And
that
maybe we
time.
need to-
So
I think
maybe
you need a
it
site plan.
didn't even require a review, so then if it doesn't have the review that's required now, do you start from scratch? And I guess that would be a council
that's
question.
the question.
Yeah.
Because it might have not required it at that time.
Well, that's-
The
Our
planning
answer is no.
process wasn't.
That's
Of
why-
course
why
it
I-
would be,
For the record.
but I don't know how you get ZBA relief without a site plan, so.
So,
In any
that's current. But yes, again, with the 60s, that would be
yeah,
a
what was the
thing.
what
that
was
a
the
thing?
process?
Yeah.
We need to find somebody much older than the rest of us to tell us.
Did Wayne?
Yeah, I know, right?
I think Wayne remembers.
Wow, yeah, we're on the record with that one.
I said worse to him. To him.
So, and Claire,
Yes.
this
we're
conversation
setting
has,
up.
you say in the resolution, as it involves non-residential, residential uses. So that's this,
Oh, I'm going to say,
Then,
I'm sorry, multifamily. It's going to say multifamily. That's the section of the code. I'm sorry, it's a cut and paste.
So are we setting a pre-submission conference or a work
No, we're
session?
gonna send a work session, and there's no action.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do the 27th,
Yeah.
and at that time.
And maybe Dave can get you some information before, or you
Of
could do
course.
some research.
We've been talking, we've
You
been
have
talking
an
about
intern,
it.
you have an
Yep.
intern now, so maybe you send her down to the archives.
Great. Okay.
The 1970s.
Archives is good enough by itself. I think you do a really good job, so.
Maybe it'll be on parchment paper.
A scroll.
So no action.
Okay, so we have to make a motion to adopt it? Did we
No, we're
just-
not doing
we're
no
no
action.
action.
Okay.
No action.
Work session on the 27th.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You can come
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
I got to operate the mixing board. It's cool.
Yeah, welcome back. Okay, Hampton Cove Estates, Anthony? Yep.
So this is 40 Canoe Place Road. It's on the corner of Canoe Place and Fanning in Hampton Bays. This was at one point an 8-unit motel. It was converted many decades.
Nice to see a picture of it.
Yeah, I like the street view sometimes. It really
Yeah, the
helps.
street view is great.
And so they converted it to apartments. They've been like that for 20 years. And of course, you try to do something or get updated COs and it becomes an issue. So we did a pre-submission on this. Not a lot of issues with this site. Everything's there. They actually did some of the things that we asked for. I think they even did some of the landscaping. So it is a special exception, so we do have to have a hearing on this one. But this one's actually incomplete only because I'm waiting for Tom and Engineering just to make sure. And I'm having the floor plans looked over by the building department to make sure I'm not missing something on size, so we don't mess up there. So we'll just deem it incomplete. I can
Deem it
put on that
incomplete. Okay, motion
Motion.
by Gloria, second.
Second.
By Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. It is incomplete. Anthony Hampton Bays Fire District and Good Ground Commons. Hi.
Good afternoon, I'm
How-
Richard Fleming from McBride Consulting and Business Development Group for the applicant Good Ground Commons. I'm just here to answer any questions. I don't anticipate that you already have them.
The board might recall we had lengthy discussions. This is the fire district, if you remember.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was a lot of
the
discussion.
Access to the access to Good
Access and all
Ground,
sorts
yeah.
of stuff. So we finally got to the point of a pre-application report. All that we're doing here today is waiving the pre-app policy because if we do an extension, it makes it good until September 22nd, 2024. But they've also submitted a request to get the extra year. So I'm just recommending that we do
An extension.
an extension of the pre-app report until September 22nd, 2025.
Okay. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria and second by
Second.
Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Anthony, has it been a year
Thank
since
you.
we saw that?
It's not the 1960s, though.
It's been 2 years, right? Time flies. So this is the next one here, is 17 Cypress Avenue in Flanders. We don't get too many referrals on, we did one recently on a much bigger project than Spionk. But we don't get too many use variants.
No.
So here's what's before the zoning board. I'll show it to you because there's no, there's no plans or anything. But so here we are in Flanders. This is all east of the overlay district and everything. So here on this side of Flanders Road is a cluster of village business zone properties. Further east, you have office district. It's all residential to the south, and it's all residential to the north. This cluster of village business. Aside from a handful of things, it's a single family, single family, single family, single family, single family. There's a single family here. There's a single family here. There's a single family here. The applicant is currently before the zoning board to get a use variance to allow a residence to be built on this property, where a single-family residence is not permitted in the village business zoning district.
But you have houses there.
but you have houses on either side. The zoning board's grappling with this a little bit. So, and the single-family residence wouldn't come before the plan board, but we did get a referral in the use variance. So, and I'm going to be honest with you, the tests, you know, that the zoning board uses for use variances are at their discretion. It's not something that you ever review. The applicant wasn't granted this right away. There's been back and forth. The zoning board asked them for additional information to support the need to put a residence here. I'm sure nobody on either side wants to have commercial development right now.
What is abutting that property? Because you would.
Right here, well, here is single-family residence, and over here, behind it is, I forget. Oh, this is the 7-Eleven site?
7-Eleven?
Yeah, 7-Eleven.
Oh, okay.
So this is on,
County Road
24,
24.
the corner of 24 and the
Okay.
corner. So, they're
Yeah, and there are a couple of residences right on County Road 24,
Yes.
just the other side of
There
7-Eleven.
So what I did was I put some referral comments here to the zoning board. I'll quickly go with them, through them with you. It's a tough one for the zoning board, to be quite honest. I'm not sure, but so basically, what I say in the first one that we would normally say in any use variance, that the planning board is concerned with the legal precedent that could be established by granting a use variance, particularly as it pertains to adjacent properties, which may result in an inconsistent pattern of development that is contradictory to the intent of having unified zoning. You know, I think that we just have to state it, you know, because it is a use variance and you're going against what the, you know, the unified and standard of development that you would have in the neighborhood. At the same time, you do have residences largely covering this. I also note there the planning board is concerned about the long-term economic impacts because number one, there's not a lot of commercial zoning in Flanders, and number two, the commercial zoning is what's going to be crucial in a lot of instances to revitalization of the community. So I think it's worth noting in there. And then, of course, the realities of what's going on today. Number two, we do talk about the adjoining properties, and they are largely single-family in terms of zoning to the north, to the south, and the office district to the east, which does allow for single-family residences.
Do we know when that zoning was established?
Village business in OD, you mean?
Yes.
The answer is, hold on, 1983.
So those houses
Long time ago.
dated the zone.
Yeah, a lot of these have been there for eons.
and they didn't, I mean, in terms of village business, they didn't take the properties that face 24. They actually went internally.
They went internally down
Which-
here.
That to me, that's an argument.
It
That's a good
it
argument.
is. It absolutely is. So we do know in number two, it talks about the zoning, which, as you know, is relevant.
Yeah.
And number three, we do note that it's also outside of the the Riverside Overlay District.
Nice shortcut, though.
Trying there. Exactly. And therefore, there's no specific recommendations to rezone this property or these properties out of that. I then go on to the comprehensive plan, and likewise, they don't make any specific recommendations for this property. They do talk about mixed-use developments largely in the
Overlay district.
in the overlay district and in the comprehensive plan, 1999 comprehensive plan update. They speak about Flanders Riverside more generally, focus on zone changes further to the west. But they do talk about mixed use. They talk about market rate housing a lot. So having some housing isn't inconsistent with the comp plan. They don't make a lot of recommendations. Number five talks about the predominant zoning being largely residential to the north-south office district. And then the other side of it is, at the very least, if they do a single-family residence here, I think that they would have to advise any future property owner of the potential for commercial development on either side. If you put a residence here and they're okay with it, but someone does come in to put commercial here, we would have to entertain it, and we would have to take into consideration all the things that you would normally do: cross-access, parking, and that kind of stuff. So at the very least, they have to acknowledge it, I think, in any decision they do.
Can you just explain again why it can't be rezoned?
I certainly believe it could be rezoned, but it would either have to be, this applicant couldn't go and ask for a rezoning because the town isn't going to rezone one one single property.
That's
I don't
flat zoning.
believe, since nothing's coming out of the comprehensive plan, that they're gonna do it on their own motion. So the only way for it to happen, I believe, is through neighbors petitioning the town for a change in zone.
So that's why it's a use variance.
And that's why
which
it's a
we've
use
never-
variance.
Yeah, I mean, that's a high
That's
bar.
that's a tough one to normally get.
Anthony, how far the zoning line, how far west on?
Well, here, this is the
20
zoning line, right?
Right there, but to the west, how far does this extend? It seems.
The
The commercial.
VB, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the VB, Bell Avenue, it's between Bell and Cypress.
It's the ambulance barn is the westernmost property.
You know, so six.
So it's the way all of these areas grew organically over the years.
Yeah, for sure.
Where, where you have so much residential, particularly in Flanders, in VB.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting case, because they did submit information to the applicant and having difficulty finding people who want to build something between two residences or commercial. And then the seventh comment was just a reminder that it is an aquifer protection overlay district, so clearing would be subject to clearing, it would be subject to clearing under a residential.
There's no Hamlet commercial zoning here when they redid it.
No.
This was just not, Flanders
It's
was
just,
not addressed.
it's like I said, I looked, it's not, no recommendations specifically coming out.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Maybe we
That's
should
why I
look at
sort of,
it.
I worded that the planning board took the position about use variances that you generally do, because they're legally hard to deal with. That being said, I tried to put in there some planning related stuff that says if you make a decision in one way or the other, here's the
Anthony,
plan.
what does zoning say about a use variance? What are the standards for a use variance?
Oh, there's the first and foremost is you got to sort of demonstrate a hardship that that you can't get any value or the best value out of this property for the uses that are permitted within that zoning district, which is a tough standard to meet.
Yeah.
But when you're surrounded by
And that's
residences,
it? I mean,
no,
that's
I
the-
think that there's.
I mean, the zoning board in general, it's a self-imposed hardship. Most of them are self-imposed hardships when they go to the ZBA.
And they still get it.
So I'm just wondering, the use variance has to have a higher
Well, the big
level-
one, like I said, the big one is the economic one, you know, and that's the tough one, is that you have to demonstrate that absent the zoning board giving them permission to put a house here, they can't gain any economic value out of the property for the uses that are permitted. And whatever they have to submit to the zoning board, you know, analyses from whoever, to show the numbers and how they work, that's what they have to do. You know, I think we stick with, planning board doesn't generally support these variances for these reasons, and here are some planning related issues that they could at least hold their hat on if they're gonna render a decision.
I don't know what else we can do.
It's a tough one, it is a tough one.
It sounds to me like the zoning is,
To me, if you were to ask, you know, a planning opinion about this, is, this, you know, either eliminate the properties behind the highway there or consider a different zoning district.
well, that's exactly what I was getting at, leave the VB on the properties facing 24, but anything behind them should be considered to be.
Would you like me to put a
residential.
comment in here that the
Yes.
planning board finds that perhaps a
Yes.
solution to this might be for the town to consider
Split zone,
a better
split it.
zoning that might be more appropriate for,
Yes, then a use variance.
I will put that in
Because
there.
all those other properties go all the way back. This strip has like 4 properties there.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll add that in there, I think
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay, good.
And then I'll fix that and then we can send it off.
All right, so we have to take a vote, right?
Yeah.
So a motion to adopt this referral with the addition of some language to the ZBA.
Motion.
Motion by Kate, second by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Jackie, do you mind? if I
You have one more?
I have 2 lead agency coordinations.
Okay. You have
Number
33.
1456. This is on Spiant Riverhead Road, another industrial zone property. This is the one that Susanna Herman was working on with the special trade contractor uses.
Oh, yeah.
We've just been going back and forth a little bit, because one of the things was I wanted to know where they're bringing the development rights to get to the 65% they could go up to 65% clearing for commercial. She's provided that information finally, so I just want to start, because we're over 50 parking spaces here, it's a type 1 action, so I want to initiate the secret coordination in this
Okay,
case.
good.
What number was that?
33.
33.
And then number 34 is the next.
So we have to vote on that.
Yep, yep, for secret coordination, to coordinate secret.
Okay, so to entertain secret coordination on 1456 SSSRR, motion by
Sorry, I didn't wanna
Craig,
make sure.
second by
Second.
Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor, 2 absent.
And then just one more. So everyone's familiar with the Frick property. We've been dealing with for quite a long time now. Lots of back and forth, you know, the wetlands,
Oh, the Frick,
the
yeah.
density incentive.
On the turnpike.
Yes.
On the turnpike. So the most recently, what we were waiting for was we got a lot of information. We went over with Jim Walker from the DEC. Most recently, I was waiting on wetlands verification from Marty's office to make sure that the wetlands are okay. Marty's office did get back to me and verified the wetlands is accurate. He did say that there was something going on back here, but that he didn't think it needed to be mapped. He said because it's within open space or the lots that are going to be preserved. So
You
he
mean
said
the
it
rear
was-
of the lot?
Yeah, in the rear. So here's the bottom line. The board's been grappling with this. What's going to happen at the end of the day is there's going to be lots for the existing residences. There's going to be 3 affordable lots, and then I believe 2 more lots for you. Right. So if we put this just on a macro level, we're looking at 5 new residences up here on top of the 3 existing. The lots that are proposed back here are proposed to go to CPF. And I think at this stage of the game, with the verification of the wetlands, I have more than enough information that we can finally coordinate secret on this, which is what I want to do. I want to initiate secret coordination so I can do the analysis finally.
So does that area, lot area, yield, no, in the front, yield 5
Yeah,
lots?
no, the yield was greater than that. It was, remember this was a
Oh,
density
yes, I know
incentive
the
plan.
whole thing.
So yes, but
I'm
in the
just
front.
talking about on the, these are properties that will face the turnpike, right?
The turnpike, yep. So yes, that's correct. But now that we have the wetlands verification, I think it's ready for secret coordination, and that's what I'm going to recommend, that we coordinate secret. And like the last one, obviously this board's going to be the agency.
Okay, we have no
Oh, I
reports.
forgot, I left my maps down. But it's just a resolution to initiate secret coordination.
Karen, you didn't have anything to say, right? No.
Just like to say thank you.
Okay, so motion to initiate secret coordination?
Motion.
Motion by Kate, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
See you guys shortly.
Okay, let's go back to
18. 31.
31.
Did we have
wait, 17,
traffic
18.
study policy also, or is that going to be at the end? Okay.
You want to do 31? Area T?
Yes. Number 31, Area T, LLC.
That's my received stamp. So, the action before you, I'll get you a plan to look at. This is Area T. This is the 3 buildings that are located on West Montauk Highway, in Hampton Bays. Total, there'll be 29,000 square feet. So you wrote that's pre-submission reports. No, this is the one.
So what's the total square footage here?
29,000 square feet.
29,
Yes.
and 15 is allowed.
Right, so this is the 3 buildings. Smaller office building in the front that would screen the parking. The larger building
Is
for a
the
variety
10.
of uses on the property. allowed in HB zoning district. So you were concerned about the limit of 15,000 square feet as being,
Doubled.
Yes, by this. Their argument is that they could subdivide into 3 lots and have 15,000 square feet apiece, and therefore, they are asking for a variance with the zoning board of appeals.
And that's their argument with the CBA.
That is one of their arguments to the CBA. He's, Devin DeBarn Jr. is here to speak on that. So I just gave you this report. Also, the question is whether you want to be lead agency in this case.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that in a resolution. And also, this would be your referral. So is there anything you would like to say? I could bold it at the beginning of this report, and it can be a report to the zoning board of appeals. So maybe, let's look at the, maybe planning, review, and issues.
Yeah.
On page 2, number 1, so the end of that sentence, number 1, says a variance for the total square footage above 15,000 square feet will be required. The planning board finds they do not support variances and finds the variances are substantial and the uses are intense. So would you like to?
Why couldn't they just subdivide it rather than have such a doubling of the, suppose it was subdivided into 3 lots.
Yeah.
They'd have to go through the subdivision process.
But they have to go through the site plan process anyways.
Right, so it's a
So it can be
process
done
either way, but I mean, to
simultaneously.
approve a doubling of what's allowed, to me, is precedent setting.
Will the, if they were subdivided, will the lots be large enough to support the buildings that are currently being proposed, or would they have to get variances anyway?
No, you could do that because you could have joint parking. You could have parking.
You get
that would
shared
go across,
parking.
shared parking,
Right,
easements. The uses, the building size would be the same, right? So you could do that whether you're on one large lot or
Mhm.
3 small lots.
So really, it's mostly a precedent issue.
Yeah, they're doubling the allowed square footage.
There has been a precedent. It's been a precedent. There's been a couple variances and one on this road already.
So that would be my comment.
Yes, so I'm going to say that does not support, and the second one is going to be the planning board does support subdividing to provide the appropriate square footage that the applicant is required,
Right.
along with cross access and
And put it in
easements.
bold in the front.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to write this for the next meeting for adoption? Since we're asking for lead agency anyways, I can do that. So let me put some language together for your consideration
Okay.
for the 27th. Okay. Yes. Yes. So I'm going to do one resolution that would be to advise the planning board that ZBA, that you would request lead agency.
Lead agency, right.
So that
that's
would be a resolution, please.
That's our action, so
Yes.
motion by Tom, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
I thought we just said no action, so would you?
No, the
No,
no
we have
action
to
would be
adopt-
on
we have to
the report.
adopt,
Okay.
lead
I'm going to get
agency.
you some language,
Okay.
and then we'll
Adopt
look
lead
at that.
agency, Yeah,
Okay?
the referral language we'll work on.
Okay.
Coming back to secret. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Claire, you finished?
I am finished except for my plans that she finally signed.
Okay, so just to acknowledge, number 35 Sunrise of Spionk has been signed, and number 36 Southampton Dog has
Woof.
been signed. Woof. And so now we're
You
set.
have to have a
We
little
are
fun.
That was rough.
Bussel Properties.
Yes, we're looking at 1368 beyond Riverhead Road. I have prepared a resolution and a long Part 3 EAF for us to consider. In an uncoordinated review.
And this is Musil Properties?
Yes, Musil Properties.
Because I don't think I heard that.
Has been proposed, which is 5,000 square foot addition. This has been before the planning board before.
Oh, yeah, they have to
And
do
there's an issue of overclearing and sanitary flow, as this is in the APOD and the compatible growth pine barrens. Again, the proposed addition is 5,000 square feet for a spray booth. The existing building there is 31,500, used as a special contractor, West Hampton Glass. The project is classified as an unlisted action due to the magnitude of the accessory building. As such, I prepared a part 2 and a part 3 full EAF. And I have handed you the narrative portion. I have identified small impacts on the land, the groundwater, the plants and animals, and critical environmental areas.
But where am I? Where are you on this report?
On the,
You put it all in a narrative?
Yeah.
I didn't give you the full form. I wasn't sure if I needed to give you the long
It
full
was in the
form. I
pack-
just pulled
it
out
was in
the
the-
areas that
It was
were.
in the packet.
Yeah,
Okay.
just the areas that were of
Did you-
import.
Did you want us to talk about all 18 standards?
No, I mean, if these are, if this
These
is,
were the ones that had significant or small impacts that were identified.
What should be noted and explained?
Yeah, the middle column on the form.
Right.
Right, exactly. So in terms of impacts on the land, the project is anticipated to be less than 1 year, and the runoff is proposed to be retained on site with a design being designed for 3 inches of rainfall capacity. In the impacts on groundwater, again, a small impact was identified there. It is of note that this site is within 1,000 feet of the DEC's documented potential hazardous waste site, the Spionk Plume. Therefore, soil vapor barrier system and covenants may be required for the development of this property.
why may? Shouldn't, they should be
They're
required.
not, there's no basement proposed.
There is no basement proposed. The application does include an IA septic system, which will be installed under the standards of the SCDHS and up to Suffolk County Sanitary Code. Again, the property is located in the Central Pine Barrens compatible growth area, and the sanitary, they will exceed their sanitary allotment and will be required to acquire 0.75 credits, 0.72 credits from the Central Pine Barrens Commission. This would also be drawn from the Groundwater Management Zone 3. Being located in the APOD, it is allowed a 50% clearing for non-residential lots. Their proposed site is going to be, unfortunately, over clearing of the parcel by 1,180 square feet. And the applicant is also looking into transfer of development right in that case. So we are working on that currently. The proposed action will not include any use of pesticides or fertilizers. Oops, I've skipped one as well.
Except an important
Yeah.
one.
Yes, I did. I have spoken to the applicant about the storage of paints and chemical products, in particular flammable, and he assured me that they will be in conformance with the uniform code on the storage of storage of flammable or corrosives or combustibles. I did need to. I was hoping to see a little bit more on storage facilities, but.
Well, that to me is a key point here. I mean, it's a spray booth, those are toxic paints.
Yes.
How is it all gonna be handled? I mean, he says, well, you know,
Absolutely.
we'll do this, but we have no proof of a plan, a remediation plan in case there is a spill. I mean,
Okay.
we're in the Pine Barrens.
And are they like recirculating and filtering the air in this booth or something?
I have seen the specs on a spray booth.
Okay.
So they have supplied me with that, and there is a filtration system.
Okay.
However, where it is a single unit that is delivered to the site, And it will be, I know, also reviewed by the the building division.
So it's like a self-enclosed.
It's a self-contained unit, exactly. But then again, where the paints are is,
Where do they store those?
and I guess
Yeah, storage and disposal. I mean, we had that with another property on County Road 39 where we said, show us your standard operating procedure,
Yeah.
the, material safety data sheets and all of that, that you have your
Okay.
procedures in place and your training plan and a remediation plan if there were an
Remediation
incident.
plan.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's a no impact or small impact. I think that could be a large impact. I mean, we have to do everything that we can to protect this area that's being developed.
Yes.
Because it's a sensitive area.
Yeah.
You've got the Spion plume, you're in the Pine Barrens, right?
And
You're in
the
APOD.
Yeah. And they're already saying they're gonna have more,
Overclearing?
no,
No.
overclearing and additional
Sanitary.
flow.
Flow, right. So I think it's a much more environmentally sensitive project.
Okay.
Even though it's a small unit. I remember where they want to place it, they have to clear a whole area.
It's all
Understandable,
important.
great
It's all
questions,
important.
and I
We're-
think
Yeah.
without the applicant here, I certainly can't
Okay,
answer
so
all
We're
that.
stacking on
But
that
you're
road
looking
from
for
north
something-
to south.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
I mean, with the floating solar up in the north,
Yeah.
and now we have, what do we have, 5 applications
Yeah.
there? And I know it's compatible growth. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing there. But each step of the way has to be very, very carefully scrutinized.
I'm sort of thinking that maybe this particular area is not small, it may be large, unless they can get us more information to make us comfortable that it's small.
I mean, they're
Otherwise,
building a
it's-
building to do this spray.
That's right.
So,
Well, I mean, even with filtration, a certain amount of fumes
Fumes are-
have to get out, right? I'm naive to to that process, but I mean, at some point, I'm sure you have to bring fresh air in, right? And it's
Yeah.
filtered out somehow, but those fumes have to
you have to
escape.
change the
So-
filters or do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens with those?
I'd like to know more about it,
Yeah, so we need
especially
more
And I'm
we
not
have an
sure,
open body of water to the north there.
I'm
right?
also not sure that we have the expertise in this building to even address
I don't think I saw it.
the potential
Impact.
impacts.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Tom Houghton knows, or he has someone he could call on to get, I'm assuming it's more of an engineering type.
Tom and I did meet briefly on this, but it was mostly with the stormwater. We did not engage over the
It's all the other stuff
possibility.
that's
Yeah.
important.
Okay.
So what I would recommend is that we table this.
Okay.
Thinking that this is the big issue, right?
Yes.
Is the spray booth, the
Environmental.
chemicals, how you store that, operation wise.
What
So that
happens
you're
if there's a
comfortable with it.
spill?
I would also say what other approvals there's other
Right.
entities that are watching over this,
Right.
not only you.
And we need
Yeah.
to know
Yeah.
who they are and
Yeah.
their qualifications.
So a very detailed explanation from the applicant along with spec sheets,
Right.
data safety sheets.
Mhm.
And the applicant should be here to answer the questions.
Yes.
Not just the applicant's representative who's not gonna know the
Right.
ins and outs. But
Yeah.
if they run a business, they know what this is entails. So
And if
they'll-
they can't answer the questions, that's an
that would
answer.
that would be concerning.
That's an
Yes.
answer.
So do you wanna do this for the 27th and ask them to attend?
I think that's the best way to move forward, sure.
Yeah, but otherwise, that is your big issue, right? The other
Yes.
issues are,
The overclearing is not great.
Yeah.
it's not great, we have done it in the past, and this is a small one.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could bring it closer to the building and, so that
We
they're
have gone
clearing
over
less.
time. I've gotten 3 different revisions on this, and we've ended up with the credits.
Okay,
I
so.
think
go ahead.
also just, I like the context here with the summary. But I personally won't speak for anybody else, but
You
I
like the
like
checklist.
having the form in front of me because
Okay.
it does take a moment of pause to consider that question in this context for each time. And I think that's an important part of the SECRA coordination.
Well, it was
So,
in the packet.
Certainly.
sure,
So-
yeah, but like to have us.
Yeah, I agree.
Or up
Will
on the
do.
screen. I mean, I don't want to
Just
have
use
so
it
much
for
paper
60
wasted,
seconds.
but I think up on the screen or asking it every time, you know what I mean? You know, it's just an important
Certainly,
taking
it
it
is a
step by step.
full form for a reason, not to be.
Exactly, it's an important form.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so we'll table it until
Yeah.
22nd.
Teresa, you have energy for number 18, the traffic study?
One more day of overtime is totally fine.
She
Well, I
works really hard.
Okay.
All right, so I did have a draft resolution that Christine and Tom and I had worked on. Pass that out for you. And obviously, any amendments you want to include, we can totally include. But it just mainly says that the draft resolution mainly says that we're acknowledging that we're no longer a summer community, and that there are different traffic patterns in the spring and in the fall, and that we would like to recognize that and have that included in our traffic counts.
I like the intent, it's like a legislative intent, although we're not legislating anything. But I think it's too loose when we say, personally, we say to an applicant, do a study mid-June. Let's see, traffic counts occur between mid-June and mid-August, so that's a hunk, right? Don't we say something more than that?
The result before, it says a traffic study which requires applicants to complete required traffic counts during either the spring or the fall, as well as in the summer, and then
Right.
separately in the summer, mid-June and
Right.
mid-August.
So, I mean, in my mind, I read something like that and I think it's too open-ended, too broad.
Okay.
I would rather say, do it in April and May. You know, this is just my thinking. This is open for discussion. That give them the months because they're going to weasel and squirm around about this. And I think we have to be more definitive. And then when I read these reports, it's like, oh my God.
What are you referring to?
These were
Those were the
traffic
traffic
studies
counts
that
Tom had
Tom
sent
did a
around.
whole bunch of research.
I don't
and-
think I ever saw that.
I had handed a draft of it out a couple of months ago,
Okay.
but this is slightly updated.
So look, you have here, it really starts to build in May. May, June, July, August, September, October.
Mid-April to mid-May and mid-September to mid-October are probably, if you want to really,
I
drill
mean,
down.
April is worse than July.
April
to
is
be
30
honest.
Well,
Like in Hampton Bays,
patterns-
I can see it backing up in front of my house. I could give you a traffic.
Well, the patterns change, actually, and
Right, yeah.
maybe, I don't know if we'll ever have the time for it, but the presentation I gave to the traffic committee, traffic safety mitigation, whatever, yeah, the volume is heavier in the summer, but the times change a little bit.
Right.
They spread out a little bit, they're later into the evening. April and May are worse in the morning
Yes.
because that's
Well, then-
everybody coming out and the teachers coming out. You get into July and August, you don't have teachers coming out anymore.
Just
So
a
early in
tourist.
the morning isn't quite as bad, so there's some interesting.
So should I,
Dynamics.
on the second resolve, it says, I could amend this and bring this back to next week. It says, I could make it say, each, required traffic counts during either mid-April through mid-May, or mid-September through mid-October, during the morning rush hour, to specify,
Well-
because that's when we have the peak, right?
When they get out there, they'll put the counters out. Well, they may come out and manually, but they usually put those counters in the road,
Right.
and they're running like
Constantly.
I don't think we
24/7.
should be that granular.
Okay,
Right.
that's totally
Yeah.
fine.
And that might be a situation where we try to give them some direction when
Yeah, when we speak
meet
to
with
them.
Right.
What I'm kind of wondering about, and I wish we had somebody on call that we could kick this around with a little bit, is do we need two? I mean, the traffic studies that I've been involved with, outside of the planning board when I was here, they didn't have to do two. They did a traffic study at a certain point in time and would project up or down a little bit, which, may not be perfect either. But,
Two segments, is that what you're saying?
right, do we need
Two
spring
separate
and fall
counts.
and summer? spring or fall
Yeah,
and summer.
well, that's
Do we
a,
need
that's a
that?
very good, but what do we ask for now? What's the
Usually
position?
they just give us a study, and we don't ask for it. They've already handed it to us.
There's kind of
And
a
it's usually-
boilerplate. You know?
Yeah,
It's a
usually it's
boilerplate.
sometime in the summer, you know.
Right. And it's accidents, of course, and it's traffic volume. You know, those are, you know, kind of your two starting points. Your delays, which have to do with the traffic volume.
Right. And, you know, just, you know, with your data you have, one thing I did do on my own is call the Tuckahoe School District, which is the smallest district that we have in Southampton. And they have 93 full-time employees, not including their bus drivers that start in Hampton Bays and do the routes from the Hampton Bays
Their
bus
school,
facility.
their buses come out of Southampton, not Hampton Bays.
No, I spoke to the district directly. The Tuckahoe School District, which is just Tuckahoe
Yeah.
School.
Southampton.
Pardon?
Southampton comes out of Waterloo.
I know, but my understanding was that Tuckahoe used the Southampton buses. They paid for those buses.
There is a bus company, I believe,
Right.
called Southampton Bus, which is immediately adjacent to the new trustee's office and Wild by Nature Shopping
Right,
Center.
right.
And that is their contract as per the district office.
The old Montauk Bus Company.
Yeah.
And the
Right.
private schools use them too. They're
Right.
only called,
So
New
what's the logic behind this? Now you're building to, okay, so that's,
Well, I'm just saying, you have that
School is June.
school support staff from September through June, right? And that's just for the one smallest school district in Southampton town, right? It's 93 full-time employees, not counting the parents who drop their kids off, not counting the bus routes, all of that other thing. So that's something to consider as well.
Right.
Which I think was part of the discussion as to why we would want potentially spring or fall counts, because you have that early morning
Yeah, yeah.
volume that is associated with the schools.
And to your point, and this used to come up a lot, school buses stop on County Road 39.
Stops
Like
everywhere.
you've stopped right behind them.
All the
Which
time.
has always been a tremendous problem. But to talk about the school buses, that's part of what compounds the traffic issues.
Right, and it's not just on County Road 39, it's Montauk Highway, it's Route
Yeah.
24,
Everywhere.
it's,
It's
everywhere.
Noyak Road.
Everywhere, absolutely.
Right. It's
So if-
contributes.
so if we ask people for a traffic study, right? We can't say, or if we did say, do a traffic study from April to October. What will they do? I mean, how do they handle that?
Well, they
Well,
may
they-
most likely do it in the middle of winter, which we
Which
don't want them.
we've already got them trained not to do that.
Right, and
you
they,
know?
and then they'll tell you they're projecting it out, but that's where those projections are,
Crazy,
hard to
yeah.
believe, right?
So that's you're saying that's too big a span to go from April to October.
I'd like to maybe
Although
do-
that's when it happens, the numbers don't lie.
It's so variable that it
Take
almost,
a look
and I don't
at-
even
let
know
me
if
have
this
that
is
back.
possible.
This is Tom's
to
research.
Create some kind of flow chart that says, okay, you are proposing this type of business in this type of location. What type of traffic at what time of day are you contributing? And then here's what the prescription
Well, we
is
had-
for the traffic study impact, right?
We had
And
some of
so
that with
is that-
the Amazon warehouse. We talked about time that a lot of the stuff was going to be overnight when.
Right, so is there some way to engineer a flow chart that's a decision tree that then
I mean-
prescribes the tests type?
Well, to use
Right.
a hotel, for example,
Uh-huh.
Probably most of their traffic is going to be Friday, Saturday, coming in,
Right.
and Sunday, Monday, whatever, leaving. So you could, and I don't know the exact answer to this, but yes, you could try to make sure you gear what you ask them to do to when you think they're going to be busiest. But
But there's no
But that-
verification that, like Canoe Place Inn is a hotel,
Right.
but they have events going on all the time.
Right, yeah.
They have the other, so it's really hard to verify that.
And they're
Uh,
using traffic count data, which, the traffic
Boilerplate.
counters don't care where you're going.
Yeah.
They're just counting,
Yeah.
tires over the,
Yeah.
running over the road.
Right.
So we're gonna always have to use some judgment, when we hire people like McLean or whoever
Well, and
else.
honestly, I think some part of the problem is that they jump the gun and they give us a traffic study,
Yeah.
right? Without us
Right.
having an opportunity to say, okay, well, what is the actual use here? And, you know, and okay, well, you know, this is a nightclub. Well, we don't have to worry about a nightclub at 10 o'clock in the morning. We don't have to worry about a nightclub at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know?
So you
Well,
mean to
they-
specifically
Right.
say to them, do a traffic study from 5 o'clock to midnight, if that's the nightclub.
Well,
use. To be that specific, you think?
Well, I'm thinking that the first part of our traffic plan is that please come to us before you do a traffic study
Right.
and get approval for your plan.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
I
Are
like
there,
that.
You're right, the whoever.
That's good,
And maybe others have jumped the gun.
are there
Oh,
combined
smile.
Yeah, she's
Bell
like, you're
curves
never gonna get away with that.
for time of day
We could-
within each month?
If you don't
Average,
start out
like,
tough.
Was that the annual?
This
Yes.
is
Yes.
by month, right? And then in terms of digging into this data more, is there a bell curve of how many cars at what time of day?
Yes,
in the
and I
month?
actually, I could, maybe we could set up some kind of a session. I did for the traffic mitigation group, I showed that.
Right.
I also then compared traffic flow by hour.
Mhm.
I think I did May and July.
Right.
And
'Cause then we're
I've
getting
been asked
into
now to go
something
back,
with
and I did
asking-
all traffic flow. Now I've been asked to go back and do eastbound and westbound.
Well, it sounds like you have to report to us too.
Which I have to tell you.
So would we want to
It's a
maybe
ton of work.
reschedule this and do it as like an afternoon work session? Or
Well, it's
what do
kind
you
of
think?
nice
What
at
is your
the end
thought?
like this, because we don't have
Yeah.
people here, and we can discuss it amongst ourselves.
Okay.
It requires discussion and back and forth.
Right.
I mean, we don't want to make a policy that doesn't work.
Agreed.
So we want to make a policy that's reasonable and that's clear to an applicant. Because I could see them saying mid-April, I mean, spring and fall. Oh, really? You know, they'll do
They'll do February.
November, yeah,
Yeah,
February.
February
Yeah.
28th. It's spring.
And things like, and again, it's standard to ask for 3 years worth of accident data.
Yeah, that's
That
always
isn't,
important,
you know,
right?
seasonally, not, you know, it's not dependent on the season.
Right.
Although, you know, season can impact it, but, right, so there's some parts that you're not gonna change.
Right.
Right, so the policy, I like what Gloria said. Come to us before you do a traffic study. And get the guidelines from us. I mean, these are guidelines.
Well, but
We're gonna give-
logistically, right?
Yeah,
How do we do that, right? Because we deem an application incomplete if they don't have a traffic study.
right.
Could you do just like a short, like you do with Secra, a traffic impact study form where it's yes, no, whatever, is your business operating during peak traffic hours?
Well, we
of this
do
business?
have in the access management plan, I think there was something about if it was, and, you know, maybe with planning board, whatever, if it was more than 100 vehicles in a certain amount of time, you had to do a traffic impact study. I don't know, it's been a lot of years since I read all through it, but I remember Ron Hill putting some kind of a, you know, a kicker in there at a certain projected volume, you know, had to ask them to, or, you know, we recommended that we ask them for an impact study.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere, I could look, you know, or you can look.
I mean,
Well, we have a pre-submission process, we have a pre-application process. I mean, this is where we're talking about you should do a traffic study, you should do
Yes.
analysis if it's a plus, right? I mean, you're saying that there, it's just that these applicants are just going ahead and doing this.
Right, we've
Right.
had two applications,
Before the
I've actually had two applications, they came in for pre-submission conference with
We
a traffic
already did.
study, right?
Well, that's,
they feel like
They're
they
not
jumped
planning
in.
board sanctioned or by planning board rules and regulations, therefore, we don't have to accept them.
Well, I mean, that's why, if that's part of the planning board process for traffic studies.
Right.
They should be made, they should realize that if I've done something, you may not accept it.
Yeah, that's the key, that we should be in control of it and not them.
Right.
feeding us information that we then have to get a traffic consultant, we have to verify, then we go back and forth and back and
I
forth.
mean, you're designing a study, which is, you know, a scientific analysis of data that you're collecting, right? So we have, I think, some kind of form that they come in with is like defines what thing are you
Check-
studying,
some
right? Like here's a
checklist.
constant,
Can you make
here's
a
the
checklist?
variable that
Yeah.
we need
I
you
mean,
to
there
study,
are,
right?
we started talking about, you know, there are days of the week that you may want to do or not want to do.
Right.
Because traffic volumes vary by day of the week.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
it could be cool
So
to
maybe
chisel
Tom
it
can
down.
do a checklist with his data.
I think
Yeah.
Tom
I'll work
has
on, I'll work
another
on
job.
something.
He has another job?
This one. we're
This
giving him.
one?
Yeah.
No, but it's part of it.
No,
Can I have his data back, please? His
Yes.
two-
Exactly.
This is great. I mean,
It's great, isn't
because
it?
you can actually get down
You
to
can
the heart
actually
of the
see
issue
it,
for
see
each
things.
particular project.
So,
If we do a little work session, I'll bring the presentation I
We have
gave.
an agenda?
Okay.
Well,
And
do
I'm also
I don't
working
have-
on one which maybe is relevant to some people.
What's the one?
Is travel times.
I have that. What's the
Right.
What's
So
the
do
other?
we wanna
I
wait
love
and
this. I'll
let
be
I don't
your
have anything on that.
co-partner on
You're
that.
gonna want to know.
I'm interested in data.
Data driven.
Since Tom is going to
Joey
be
needs your
doing some
affidavit.
additional analysis and maybe drafting a form, a checklist form, do we wanna put this off for
Yeah.
like,
Till we get it
I forgot.
right.
so like, well, I mean, say to like the end of July? Maybe the end of July meeting so that he has time to.
Thank you.
We don't have anybody knocking on the door right now
No.
saying, I want to go do a, you know, I want to submit a big application.
I'm not here the last week in July and the first week in August, so I really would like to be part of it.
Can we do it early July? What's the July?
I mean,
Depends
that's
It's everybody's
two
busy.
meetings. I don't know if Tom will have
Maybe
that.
the end of August.
End of August?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Back right
yeah,
there.
and of course,
Because this is, you know, once we have data to support what
Right.
it is we're asking for.
Right.
There's, you're not gonna refute that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
This is why we want this.
Right.
All
and you
right.
just, anybody that comes knocking on the door, you say, stop. Don't do anything yet.
Well, I don't think we can do that.
Let's
But,
stretch our
you know,
legs.
Tom, if you
Yes,
wanna call me and we can talk about it some.
No, I definitely
Yes,
want to.
yes.
And Claire,
Oh, yeah.
when we talked about this last time.
No, we
she
did
was
not.
keeping track of her travel times. So I want to grab her notes.
Right.
Okay.
Kristen, you can.
Motion to
I already
adjourn.
checked it.
Motion.
Motion by Gloria and seconded by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, we are adjourned. Seriously.
Forgot we were still on.